Tonight on the Black Channel. Well, folks, for those of you who aren't aware, meet Shiloh Hendrix.
It is my business. You call him an... Okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again?
Fuck you, nigga.
Alright, that's what you say.
You don't go digging through people's shit, you dumb fuck.
Nobody dig into your shit.
A little fucking kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him a little child?
What if he acts like one, he's gonna...
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child 5-year-old the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
All right, folks. Well, that was how it started. You figure that's pretty cut and dry as far as that's concerned. You figure that's pretty cut and dry. And you should be right in that regard. You should be. Well, welcome to the way that things are now. And that's very important to keep in mind, because these are the kind of things right here that start people down these roads of things. These are things that start people down these roads of things. Now, by the way, I wanted to find a different one here. There's a different one here. Let me go ahead and play that for you one more time. I want to play that for you one more time. That's right, for the white supremacists in the back. I want to play that one more time, and there's a reason why I'm doing this like this.
Call him a nigger, the child?
The fuck you talking
Did you
about?
call the child the nigger word?
None of your fucking business.
It is my business. You call him a nigger? Okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again?
Fuck you, nigger.
Okay.
Nigger.
Alright, that's what you say.
You don't go digging through people's shit, you dumb fuck.
Nobody dig into your shit.
A little fucking kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him a nigger?
Yeah.
The little child?
What if he acts like one, he's gonna...
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child 5-year-old a nigger, the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
Yes, indeed. So there you have it. Yes, sir. There you have it there. Now, you all know me. I don't just jump on things out of nowhere. When folks bring up stories and stuff, I don't try to be the first. I try to be the most accurate. So I don't just jump on things when they happen. I'm aware of things. I'm aware of a lot of things. And I usually just sit back in the cut and I watch and I observe, because this was not in Selma, Alabama. This was not in Biloxi, Mississippi. This was in Rochester, Minnesota. So Minnesota keeps coming up, from Philando Castile to George Floyd. Minnesota just keeps coming up. So very clearly there's an issue there. Now, for me, I sat back, I watched, I observed things because I was waiting to see something. And tonight, brothers and sisters from around the world, I didn't bring receipts, I brought invoices. I'm not here to just tell you what you paid. I'm here to tell you what you owe. Predictably speaking, all of the usual suspects on the white supremacist alt-right in internet land, they finally decided that it's now or never. Now, they've always been knowing that the line in the sand was that you don't want to be a racist by defending the N-word. And now they've all decided to come out of their hidey holes, to come out of their Nazi bunkers and put it all on the line, because they feel like, okay, this is it. This is the charge of the Light Brigade. It's now or never to go full racist. And if we can knock down the N-word, white supremacy is firmly reestablished. We have rolled back the 20th century. We've successfully rolled back the 20th and the 19th centuries. We've successfully rolled back the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. So this is a big, big play for them. But who would have the guts and the gall to jump out there first? Well, the usual suspects did there. We're going to start here with Tim, alt-right racist Poole, whose white supremacist bona fides are very well established. He was one of the first to come charging through the door. And what they decided, they all must have conferred and conferenced with each other, because they all started using this phrase, this same phrase, white guilt is over. Now, you figure if there's anything to be guilty about, it's running around calling a 5-year-old black child a nigger. You would figure that this would be beneath human decency. But they apparently, the alt-right and the white supremacists on the internet got together and they decided that this is the phrase they should use, is that anybody who tells you you shouldn't run around calling folks racial slurs, well, that's white guilt. You're being tagged with white guilt, so you're not a heinous person for doing that. Oh, no. Understand something. They're going full bore white supremacist Nazi. They're just taking off the robes, the Ku Klux Klan robes. They're just taking them all off. Don't believe me. Here's Tim Pool for yourselves. By the way, fair use, Timmy boy.
This is a big story because something is changing in the cultural zeitgeist. Something is changing. People are fed up with the, you've got minorities that will insult and use racial slurs against white people. And we are told that's socially acceptable because it's punching up. But that is a leftist precept. That's a leftist idea. With the Democratic Party trying to go this route and losing younger voters and white voters, not to mention they've lost basically every demographic, how are they going to claw back when they stand firmly on the side of racism every day? Now, some may say, but Tim, this story is about a lady being racist. Sort of. It is on the surface. But the fundraising is largely about people being fed up with the racism, and this is the recoil. This is the blowback on DEI. If you are going to have a persistent and consistent culture where comedians are allowed to use racial slurs against white people, but white people can't say anything back, they're allowed to just say, yeah, I guess you're right. Eventually, you get people who say, I've had enough of this. I don't want to live in the world where anybody is racist. And what happens? The people who don't want racism end up supporting this woman out of spite and anger over the racism directed at them.
So you prove that you're not racist by supporting being a spiteful racist. What? Yeah, Tim. Folks, this is the alt-right white supremacist psyche. I'm not racist, but I'm gonna support racists because I'm a spiteful racist. Yeah, this is what he sat there and this is what he came up with. I played it all in its entirety. You have it in its full context. Yeah, I'm not a racist, but I'm a spiteful, low-key racist, so I support things because I'm spiteful, and good people are not spiteful. There's the first thing. Good people who are not racist are not spiteful. You have nothing to be spiteful about. Look, white supremacists are not smart. They've never been smart. They've never been brilliant. They get given everything. YouTube gives them a television show. They boost them in the algorithm. They give them millions of viewers, not because they're smart, not because they're capable, not because they're coherent, not because they're competent. It's because white supremacy needs to be subsidized. It needs to be subsidized heavily. It needs to be subsidized tremendously. And they come out with garbage like this. This is the best he could do. We would have respected him better if he had just said, look here, I am a short, little deficient dude from Illinois. I felt inferior all my whole life, and I don't like black folk because they make me feel inferior. I would have respected that a lot more. We would have all respected that a whole lot more if you just go ahead and said that. This stuff right here is just weird and strange, man. It's just weird and strange. And he had time to think it over. He had time to think this over, and this is what they came up with, is that they're supporting calling folks nigger because, well, comedians, he never says who the comedian is. First of all, this is how Tim Pathetic Pool, you're talking about comedians. They're comedians. He never names who it is. People are calling white people slurs. He never names who they are. So I'm white and I say so. Trust me, they're out there, dude. This is what they're reduced to. This is I'm white and I say so. But let me go ahead and deal with that comedian thing. So Tim Pathetic Pool is sitting up here and trying to tell you that he's offended because, why, there are black comedians who call white people slurs. Don Rickles, Andrew Dice Clay, Lenny Bruce. We can go down the list here. Okay, fine. Would you like to do that? But all right. I can go even further if you want us to. First of all, he's talking about a comedy show. Now, if this were a liberal saying this, Tim Pool would be saying, this is the problem with these liberals. They want to control how people speak. It's just a comedy show. Everybody, all these alt-right 4chan, Pepe the Frog dudes out there, aren't they the ones always running around talking about, it's just a joke, dude. It's just a joke, dude. There's the problem with the left. You just can't smile or laugh at anything. It's just a joke, dude. Sounds like you're upset that certain comedians are funnier than you. It's just a joke, Tim. First of all, tell us where the joke is. You haven't proven that the joke even exists. You haven't even proven it exists. You just claim, oh, it's there. Okay, first of all, before you go any further, you better prove it exists and you're not lying, because you lied on Carmelo Anthony's family. You already did that. By the way, if they sue you, I'll give money. But by the way, you never even proved that exists. But second of all, these would be the same guys telling all of us, it's just a joke. That's the problem with you left. You just don't know a joke when you see one. It's just a joke, dude. You all need to learn how to laugh. It's just a joke. Now, all of a sudden, he's telling you comedy shows are forbidden. It's not a joke anymore. He doesn't like jokes anymore, people. Now he's telling you he doesn't like jokes. Interesting. He doesn't like jokes, because I found that to be something to take a look at there. After all, we are talking about Tim Pool, right? I mean, we are talking about Tim Pool, aren't we? So we certainly wouldn't want to leave him out here, because Tim Pool used to love jokes. Damn! Tim Pool used to love jokes. Why, Tim Pool used to think jokes were great. He used to think that black comedians were great. Why, just a few short years ago here, why, Tim Pool thought that telling jokes that folk didn't find funny, that people found offensive, why, Tim Pool, he liked that. Oh, that's right, Timmy boy. We don't have receipts, we have invoices. As the anchorman of the new black media, oh, don't worry, I brought my people invoices. Why, Tim Pool thought they were great. He thought they were fantastic. Why, he was defending it. This is just one of several videos that he did defending Dave Chappelle and talking about the leftist activists. Well, isn't that amazing? All of it. Now, they're leftists and they're censoring people. And then Tim Pool jumps up in 2025. When you need to censor people, you don't want to have that. So Dave Chappelle, when he got this Netflix deal, he was making jokes. Some of them were about trans people, and some trans folk were offended by that. Okay, Tim Pool was defending that. Now, remember, he had, Sticks and Stones, The Closer, and I forget what the third one was. I want to say that there might have been one before Sticks and Stones, but Sticks and Stones, Closer. I want to say the first one was Austin's wearing all black. But anyway, Tim Pool thought it was fantastic. He thought it was great. Now, from the Sticks and Stones Netflix special, if you'll all remember, now this was the iconic part from that one. Tim Pool didn't have an issue 5 years ago with Dave Chappelle saying this.
This is 15 years ago. I made a mistake. I didn't even know
Fair use, Netflix. By the way, Netflix, get off my back. Fair use.
I'd done anything wrong. I had written a sketch that had the word fag.
Me a little self-censoring there.
So I had to go to standards and practices. They call me up. I don't know why they're calling me, but I like the lady that runs the department. She's usually really fair and was one of my favorite people I've ever worked with. So she sits me down. We have a nice conversation. She tells me, oh, the sketches are great. I go, oh, fantastic. Well, then why am I here? She said, because, David, there's no way that you can ever say the word faggot on our network. I didn't know I did anything wrong. I didn't try to defend myself. I said, all right, fuck it, I'll take it out. Have a good afternoon. And as I was leaving, it occurred to me, hey, Renee, quick question. It's just a question. Seriously, I want to know, why is it that I can say the word nigger with impunity? but I can't say the word fat. And she said, because, David, you are not gay. I said, well, Renee, I'm not a nigger either. Well, this is.
So that was the iconic part, that part of Dave Chappelle's comeback tour on Netflix with those specials he did. So Dave Chappelle, iconic bit that he did right there. And by the way, Tim Pool thought that was great. Tim Pool, y'all gotta get on the internet, these little short dudes with inferiority complexes. They really gotta have some group therapy. They really, really do. Trying to sit up here and work through their issues on videos and live streaming. This is just bad for society. But Tim Pool thought that was awesome. He thought that was great. Now, isn't that interesting? Now, all of a sudden, Tim Pool jumps up. He doesn't like comedians anymore. All of a sudden, he's taking comedy specials seriously. Why, you can't say that. That's offensive. Well, he was perfectly grand with offending other people and say, hey, it's just a joke. You can't police folk. Now he's saying, oh, I'm in my white supremacist feelings. So what this shows you, if you got a little fella who looks like a school shooter and he's like 5'2" around you, just understand, in your high school classroom, just understand he's going to be trouble. He is never going to let this Napoleon short complex go. It ain't never leaving. Just understand that. If you're in high school or college with a little school shooter looking fella, you know, wears goth clothes, talks with a squeaky voice, Ben Shapiro, just 5'1", listens to retro country music, just understand he's never gonna let this go. He will hold on to it for the rest of his life. His little short kids, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad. It's gonna be all bad. So yeah, and by the way, this is just one video of several. The white supremacists have been sitting on it so long, like Dr. Laura Schlesinger, sitting on it so long that when it came out, they just exploded. You'd think they would have the good sense that God gave a goose not to sit up here and it's like, hey, dude, don't try to back the N-word thing. You can't defend it. You can't clean it up. There is no public relations you can do to make it acceptable. Don't be a dummy. Don't try that. But you got to understand, this is what they've been trying to build up to for so long. They can't contain themselves, even when it's stupid. Even when it's dumb. Now, let's also deal with one more thing right here. This is the backlash. Excuse me. What about George Zimmerman? What about George Zimmerman, Darren Wilson, Kyle Rittenhouse? White supremacists raising money for harming black people? That's not new. This is over decades old. He's acting like this is something special. She's actually behind. Zimmerman raised, what, $1 million? She's behind. It's actually lost steam. Trying to act like this is some result of something else. This has been going on. This is over a decade now, folks. 12, 13 years if you count Zimmerman. He's trying to act like this. Oh, but this is new. This is radical. Oh, we've never seen this. This is the backlash. Excuse me, 12, 13 years ago, killing a black child. Are you serious? So white supremacists are not smart. They just make things up. They're the worst propagandists you could possibly imagine if somebody actually keeps up with the actual facts. They're pathetic. But this is the best he could do. He's got to make you think that there's some reversal and revival going on. Oh, this is a big thing. This is a big change. No, it's not. This is literally routine. This is literally par for the course. There's nothing radical about this and nothing extraordinary about this. White supremacists have been able to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars at the drop of a hat for decades. We really going back to the 20s and 30s. They've always been able to raise money at the drop of a hat. This isn't new. It's not new. It's not novel. It's not special. He's trying to convince you it is. Trust me. Trust me, dude. This is brand new. Trust me. So he's going for it. He's trying to convince you that we are in uncharted territory and this is a cultural paradigm shift. But what is it that Timmy Boy is really sitting on? What is it that Tiny Tim is truly sitting on here, folks? He's truly sitting on something. I suspect that there's repressed feelings here. Now, he brings on another white supremacist from the UK. He brings this guy on here. So they're just bringing out full-blown white supremacists now. They're just going full-blown into that. So they're just letting you know where they're coming from here. They think they finally have an opening. They've been sitting around waiting years with folk laughing and giggling at them. They've been waiting years for it. But I always suspected that Tiny Tim was sitting on something else. He's sitting on something else. And I think in this video, on top of other things, because remember, when you're talking to white, in Tim's case, talking to full Caucasians, not mixed Caucasians, Tim. I know, that inferiority complex kicks back in again. When he's sitting in the face of actual Anglos, things change a little bit. And here's what old Tiny Tim had to say.
This was rooted in this idea that all white people, except for her, are secretly racist white supremacists who are going to hold back the minorities. So we need to eliminate this constitutional amendment in California so that we can intentionally be racist against whites and then help minorities get into contracting in schools. Of course, California voted against this measure. We got like a minute left, and we'll try to make this quick. One of the things with the civil rights movement that has come up a little bit from the left is when we ended segregation and they said you can't have separate bathrooms for black and white people, they're trying to argue you can. That's the same thing for the sexes. Civil rights movement says you can't have discrimination on the basis of sex. So then how can you have a men's room and a women's room? I'm curious how you would rebut that.
So it shouldn't surprise you that Tiny Tim, of course, they on the one hand, they want to try to smear you, and on the other hand, they think that they're going to gin something up and fabricate something into trying to knock down as many issues as possible. Fellas, you're getting the problem with trying to do that, Tiny Tim, is that, dude, you're splitting in too many directions. You can't just do that out of nowhere. You have to stay focused, man. You got to stay focused. If you do it wrong, it doesn't work. That's the issue. You got to stay focused. When you go trying to knock down all of your pet boogeymen at the same time, it goes badly for you. It goes badly. Now, I want to play another part on here. I want to play another part because I think Tim kind of lost himself in here. I think he kind of lost himself.
On their sleeve, but let me explain. There was a friend of ours. He's Asian, and he said he went to a bar. And we're in Maryland, which was a union state, but it was a slave state. And he said that's like some old fat white guy looked at him and said. He said something like, where in China are you from or something? And he's Korean. So it's like, it's not that the guy's hatefully racist, but you can tell that he's got some kind of bias. But he's not insulting you, deriding you. He's not saying you don't belong. He's just like, you're an other, and I can tell. And he made some comments that we all thought were funny, even my friend who's Korean. Whereas in the North, they're all walking on eggshells, talking down to you. And the funniest thing about my encounter with these woke people in, say, New York is they treat me like garbage when they assume I'm white. And then when I counter by saying, actually, I'm mixed, they immediately apologize and start acting totally different. And I'm just thinking to myself, there's no real interaction with these people.
So you got to understand, when you're dealing with a deficient individual like this, he's not actually white. He can't actually get a true white card. What do you have when you have a gang member who doesn't really qualify for the gang he wants to be in? He's a wannabe. We all know wannabes are more dangerous than the authentic article because wannabes have to overcompensate. Oh, they got to sit up here and crash all the way out. They got to go way overboard. So what Tim is doing is he sees an actual Anglo, or at least appears to be Anglo, and he is groveling and bowing and scraping, and he pulls out basically this is his version of a coon story, talking about how he loves white racism. White racism doesn't bother him. As a matter of fact, the real issue are the people who don't want to judge him by his race. Why, they're the real problem. But the white dudes, that hazing, that hazing ritual, why, he's letting you know, well, ain't nothing wrong with that. We're all for that there, buddy. So remember what I told you, when they're in the presence of white people, and that's truth serum. Being in the presence of a white person is truth serum. And little old Tim's letting him know that, by the way, yeah, I don't actually have true white credentials. Timmy doesn't actually have any true white credentials. So in the presence of actual white people, Tim's gotta let them know that he hates the niggers too. And, I'm on your side, guys. Just remember, I'm on your side. This is pathetic. But then again, you've never had any manhood to sacrifice, Timmy. So I would say you went out bad, but you went out a whole long damn time ago. At the very least, you could have saved some dignity. You could have saved some dignity. You haven't honored either your Asian side or your white side, Tim. You haven't honored either one, for the folks in the chat room wondering. No, Tim Pool's like half Korean. I shouldn't say half Korean. He's actually part Korean. So if his facial features seem to favor Mongoloid features, well, yeah, that's because he's part Asian. And that's why he told that story. He was with Koreans. Well, yeah, that's the people he's from. That's no problem there. But when you define Korean as who's the biggest Anglo ass kisser, well, that's a whole different thing. That's a whole different thing. So he lets you know where he's coming from. He's here to reassure the white supremacists that he's on Team White. Now, we all know how this ends, don't we? We all know how this ends. Eventually, he's going to be in their presence. He's not going to be productive enough, not going to be useful enough, and they're going to call him what he really is. And then he's going to break bad. But he's going to be like Candace Owens. He'll be a man without a country. So you can't really, the white supremacists will be able to beat up on you, and you're going to be degraded and dehumanized and undignified, but you're going to have to just sit there and take it because you don't have any other place to go. So you just have to sit there and be their dog. And he's comfortable being their dog. But for the folks who are not really trying to have it. Not really trying to have it. For those of you who agree that you cannot kiss enough rump on the white supremacists to please them, give me the boot emoji in the chat room for the boot licks. And give me hit the likes button for me. It's over 3,600 people in here live in just the first 28 minutes. But if you all agree, there is no pleasing the white supremacist, Tiny Tim. You've sold your soul and disgraced yourself for absolutely no reason. Give me the boot emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. If we're outnumbered by white supremacists in here tonight, I might close it up early. But if my people are in here, by people I mean civilized man, hit the likes button for me. The white supremacists are going to take it on the chin tonight. The white supremacists are going to take it on the chin tonight. Well, as bad as it is for Tiny Tim, as bad as it is for him and the rest of the alt-right out there, of course, there's no way in the world that you could have done this or couldn't have gotten along with this without, of course, musty Matt Walsh showing up. Mangy Matt Walsh is of course going to jump into it because why would he not want to look as idiotic as possible? And once again, you don't see him backing off of it. Why? The Daily Wire, which is going out of business, they're just going to crash all the way out. So on their way to going down in flames, let's see what you can do here. So here Matt Walsh is drinking from the cup of iniquity. And why, yes, he's here to defend calling black people niggers. He's here to defend it too. As a matter of fact, he goes beyond that. Not only is it okay, he says it isn't a big deal. No, I mean, seriously. He says if you're offended by it, why, you're just hysterical. Folks, they go full-blown KKK.
Importantly, you've completely missed the point. The only question is whether you and all the people who've been saying similar things are pretending to not understand, or if you really are this obtuse. And I'm not going to speculate about that, but I don't need to speculate to say that you have made the worst possible argument against my point, because your argument proves my point rather than refuting it. You say that I would be too scared to say the N-word to a black guy because I don't want to be physically assaulted or killed. My entire point, or half of it at least, is that this word elicits a hysterical and wildly disproportionate reaction. In order to prove me wrong, you're warning me that if I say it, I might end up in the hospital. Yes, well, exactly. Yes. The other half of my point is that there is an insanely flagrant double standard around the word. You helpfully demonstrated that as well by using the word at least a dozen times in your video about why I shouldn't use the word. All that said, I do understand why you're getting so upset. I understand why Mark Lamont Hill was shaking with rage like a 2-year-old who was just told that it's time to leave the playground. I get it. For a long time in this country, there has been a rule surrounding this word. The rule stipulates that the word is so unspeakably evil that if a white person says it, you can physically assault him. And if you say it as a black person, it's not offensive or even vulgar in the slightest. So it's the first ultra taboo in the English language or any other language in the history of the world, as far as I know, that switches off suddenly depending on the skin pigmentation of the person saying it.
So no, there is no ambiguity here. No, Matt Walsh is letting you know exactly where he stands on this. No ambiguity about that. He is demanding his right as a white person. Why, we should be able to do that. We should be able to call you niggers around here. So in case you all thought that they were trying to move American society forward, oh, no, no, no. He's like, no, let's go back to the days of antebellum slavery.
That's the rule. The rule makes no logical or moral sense. It's obviously totally unreasonable, but people followed it anyway, largely because, as you helpfully point out, there was an implicit or even explicit, oftentimes, threat of, among other things, great physical harm if they didn't follow it. So it was an unreasonable and indefensible rule that gave you a certain amount of privilege and power. It's nice to be on the winning side of a rule like that. May not be fair, it may not make sense intellectually, but
since when has Matt Walsh, white supremacist Matt Walsh, ever argued for fairness or anything? White supremacists don't believe in fairness. They believe in power. And this is the part that offends Matt. He just told you what it was. As a white supremacist, he's used to making the rules for you. This is the whole point that I've been telling you all now for going on 2 decades. This is not about right or wrong. This is about abuse. And it's not power if you cannot abuse it. So Matt is sitting here arguing that the problem he has is black people telling him that there's something that he cannot do. He's like, damn it, I'm white. There's no benefit. There's no value in being white if you don't have superior power over black people. That's Matt Walsh's position. That is the white supremacist position. Black people telling him that there are limits on what he can do. No, this is intolerable. Absolutely intolerable. This will not stand. What the hell good is it to be white if black people can put limits on you and tell you what you cannot do? It's supposed to be the other damn way around. You're supposed to be telling black folk what they can't do. You can't look at us. You can't speak at us. You can't be on our side of the fence. You can't be on our side of town. We get to run your lives. A black person telling him, you can't even say this word. You can't even speak. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, absolutely not going to be tolerated. It boils his soul that he knows a black person can sit there and say, you better not talk like that. You better watch what you say. It's like, oh, hell no. What good is whiteness if you can't abuse other people? What good is whiteness? So that's the part that upsets him most. And by the way, he's going to start screaming and yelling here in just a few moments. I mean, literally, this is how unglued he's coming about it. He wasn't screaming and yelling to Megyn Kelly, but for this, for the right to yell nigger, Matt Walsh goes full white supremacist here. He's letting you know that this is the issue, right? The rest of it doesn't matter to him. This is the issue for him.
It's kind of fun and satisfying if you have a sadistic streak to watch people jump through hoops and march on command like little wind-up monkeys with cymbals. You know, like watching other people do that, if you're a sadistic person, is enjoyable. The rule surrounding this word is linguistically unprecedented. There's, again, never been a word in any language ever treated quite like this one.
Okay, well, there are forbidden words in languages that will get you killed. There certainly are. In the Middle East, in Asia, there are words that will get you killed. In white society, what? They're using the wrong words will get you killed. Why, that's been happening. Now, once again, just like pathetic Tim Pool, musty Matt Walsh wants to convince you that, that's never occurred. Nothing like that. He's breaking news. It's a brand new day. It's a new universe. No, it's not. We didn't just wake up yesterday. No, it's not. So just understand that he's trying to rewrite history. He's hoping in the TikTok generation that not only people's attention spans are only 30 seconds long, but that their memories are only 30 days long. That's literally what these clowns are depending on now.
But there's nothing unprecedented about forcing or manipulating people into following artificial, arbitrary rules. I mean, we've seen quite a lot of that, especially recently. This is spiritually no different than social distancing. You gotta be 6 feet apart. Not 4, not 8, 6.
So just like Tim Pool, Tiny Tim, and Musty Matt, you see how they're trying to link us to these other unpopular things in their circles. So they're trying to thread the needle. This is psychologically to create a hate mob about it. We're just going to try to thread the needle through all these to make you think, this is our ability to call you niggers is right there with when they tried to force people to get the vaccine and social distancing and boys playing on girls' teams. You notice how they're trying to, this lets you all know. And by the way, Matt Walsh also had a video talking about it was white guilt. He made an earlier video talking about it's white guilt. That the Shiloh Hendrix thing, her calling folk niggers, that's white guilt is over. So he was another person who did that. And you can go to his channel and look it up if you want to. But this is what see the strategy there. Well, maybe we can knock down all the dominoes. Fellas, you're getting overly ambitious. You're getting overly ambitious. You're doing too much. This is how you end up vomiting all this at the same time, and you just kind of wash it all away. You need to I'm trying to help you clowns out here. If you're going to choose a target, choose just one. And then if you're going to choose a target, you have to choose a righteous one. These clowns are literally the Injustice League. What? Think about this for a few moments. We're the good guys. Call people niggers. They are literally the Legion of Doom. They are literally the Injustice League. I mean, those of you who read comic books as children, you told yourselves, when you got older, nobody would really want to be the Injustice League. I mean, no one would really want to be that. That's what you're all thinking. No one would really want to say, we're the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. That's a little too on the nose, don't you think? I mean, do we really want to be evil? Really? And you told yourself, Stan Lee and them, that was just overly simplistic thinking. No one would actually want to be the, quote, Injustice League. We are the proponents of injustice. No, first of all, it's not even a catchy name, but who wants to do that one? No, brother, that ain't gonna work. Matt Walsh and Tim Pool. What's your hammer up there, Tim? I'm hammering up the Injustice League sign up here on top of the door. All right. We're gonna need a longer door sill up here. I mismeasured how long the word injustice would be. We're gonna need a slightly longer sill up here. This is literally where we're at today. These guys are literally the Injustice League. Because if you can't be proud of what you're doing, notice something. The whole thing that calls them out is to say, by the way, so you're proud to say that, because if you're not proud to say it, then what are you defending? Because if I can't be proud with you, then this is pathetic. You're the bad guys. And they're like, okay, say hi to the bad guy. Say hi to the bad guy. So if anyone was wondering if white supremacy is a psychosis, this is proof positive. But don't worry, Musty Matt ain't done yet.
Respecting pronouns is another one. These are all rules that can't be defended, can't be justified. They can't even really be coherently explained. People follow them anyway. Until one day, a few people, and then a few more, and a few more, stop and say, hey, wait a minute. Why are we doing this exactly? Why is this a rule? Who is this for? Who does this benefit? Who made this up? Like, why? And the moment people start asking those questions, the game is over. And
okay, actually, the game is not over, Matt. Only for you and the 2 brain cell IQ individuals you hang out with in that ADHD cesspool that you call a life over there. It's very easy to debunk this, people. Understand, white supremacists only talk to each other, and they're the dumbest people in the room. So very, very clearly there. Let's explain a couple of things right here. If you went to Israel and you started making fun of Munich, the Munich Olympics, where they murdered all those Jewish athletes, something about to happen. If you are a Palestinian and you go into Israel and you start making derogatory Jewish terms and telling them about October 7th, something gonna happen. And the reason for that is because those words are not simply words. Those are words tied from a group tied to specific acts of violence. So words are the precursor of verbal violence, precursors of physical violence. So Matt Walsh is trying to gaslight you because this is what white supremacists do. If you go to Japan and start making jokes about their eyes and dropping the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, something's going to happen, because Hiroshima and Nagasaki were not just events. They were physical things that happened. And if you are an American, specifically a white American, going over to Japan in that manner, you are crossing a line. If you go to Italy, there are terms that Italians call each other that you would be very well advised to understand. They can say that amongst each other. You have the freedom to speak. You also have the freedom to gain the consequences. You go to Italy and there's a word that rhymes with free fall. You go say that to Italians. You go among them and talk that way. And see what happens. Go amongst the Irish. Go amongst the Irish in Boston, in Philadelphia, in New York. Go amongst the Irish and start using words that rhyme with kick and see what happens. Oh, you have the freedom, quote, freedom to say those words. You certainly do. You also have the freedom to accept the consequences. I can name any number of words that would happen with. That you are just some kind of fool. You are obviously asking for trouble. You're supposed to be smart enough not to do that. Now, folks keep using a phrase in the chat room, and that shows you how smart my audience is, because fighting words is actually a legal precedent. The law has always acknowledged that you can't just go around just saying certain words in certain situations because that causes an issue. So Matt isn't playing dumb, he actually is. What he also is a white supremacist who's saying things that he knows are categorically false because he's trying to justify his white supremacist behavior. But you can go around the world and there are terms and words that you cannot use either because of who you are and where you come from, because those words have a different significance coming from you, or because of the people that you're talking to. Either you're not one of them or you come from a background where that word is weaponized. Now, this is not new. This is not new at all. And by the way, Musty Matt, he knows this. What he's really trying to do is he's willing to be first in the door. He figures he's made enough money that even if it all got cut off tomorrow, he's have enough money to float for the rest of his life. So what good is it if you're not willing to cash it all in for white supremacy? So that's the real reason why he's deciding to just crash all the way out now.
People who benefited from the game, like you, always react the same way. You get angry, you panic, you make threats. I understand. People were cooperating, now they aren't. And that's always frustrating and kind of jarring for the proponents of the incoherent, indefensible rule. But you don't actually need to panic. You know, there is another way to respond. You could just say this. Here's what you could say.
Of all people, for Matt dysfunctional, incoherent Walsh to try to give advice, okay. This isn't rich. This is just ridiculous.
Yes, obviously it's totally wrong and insane for anyone to be physically harmed over a word. And yes, if I say the word, then I cannot rightly tell anyone else to not say it. That's a basic rule of life. You cannot do something and then tell other people not to do it.
Do you see the way he's yelling now, folks? I mean, this is how dedicated to white supremacy he is. He didn't do this with Megyn Kelly when she sat up here and clowned him like Barnum and Bailey Circus. This is a real issue. This is the core issue right here that motivates him. White supremacy and the ability to execute it with impunity and to victimize other people. This is it right here. He's letting you know this is all the marbles. This is what it's all about.
Insane for anyone to be physically harmed over a word. And yes, if I say the word, then I cannot rightly tell anyone else to not say it. That's a basic rule of life. You cannot do something and then tell other people not to do it. So instead, you might say, why don't we all just refrain from saying it for the same reason in the same way that most of us try to refrain from using any other slur or vulgarity?
Okay, folks, I got a question right here. Hey, Mangy Matt, I heard you're married. Why anyone would do such a thing and subject themselves to that, either they're fellow white supremacists or held captive. Hey, Matt, I got a question, though. Are there any words or names that you can call your wife that I can't call her? What? Hey, Mangy Matt, I wonder, are there any pet words or pet terms that you call your wife or your children that you would not approve of me calling them? Baby, sweet cheeks, honey mama? Whatever cornball stuff you got going on over there. Y'all know white dudes, white supremacists. Tell me what it is, Matt. I would like to know what that is. I strongly suspect that there are terms and words that you call your wife that if I'm standing in front of her, that you wouldn't approve of me calling her. Now, would you, Matt? Somebody said flat cakes. Damn! I strongly suspect that you would not approve of that. I'm pretty sure that your pet terms for your wife, if you called her, hey, baby, And then I walked up to her and she said, "Hi, Jason." I said, "Hey, baby." Why, Matt, so what Matt's going to say is that he wouldn't respond? Well, you know what? If everybody can't say the word, then no one can say the word. People, white supremacists, are not smart. They're not brilliant. They're like dope fiends. They're like dudes on marijuana. They just think they're brilliant. They sit around, they hit the bong, they get stoned out of their minds. They sit around and intellectualize this garbage to each other. No one ever questions it. They're in their constant perpetual ADHD echo chamber. And then you walked out here in the real damn world, got your ass handed to you on contact. Talk about reason and logic. I just debunked the whole damn thing. Didn't take me but half a second to do so. Hey, Matty boy, Musty Matt, Tiny Tim. By the way, if these are just words, then you wouldn't have any problem with me addressing your wife the same way. Now, would you? Oh yeah, if you're going to tell me that I can't say it, well then none of us should say it. Oh, but I have a special relationship to my wife. Oh, interesting. Well, you were not respecting other people's special relationships. Why, you were claiming that was just white guilt. So, Matt, bring your little wife on over here so I can go ahead and tell her some of those nice little pet terms you name. And we're not going to have any black guilt. You're not going to shame us. We're not going to accept any black guilt. That is, if you were going to be rational and consistent, which of course you won't. Oh boy, there's a whole bunch of white supremacists out there right now. I mean, just absolutely seething. Absolutely seething. And to reiterate, there's nothing wrong with being white. Being white is not an issue. There's everything in the universe wrong with being a white supremacist. There's everything in the universe wrong with that. And guys like Matt, this is all about power, which for them is abuse. It's all about how do you justify abusing other people? And their justifications are never solid. They've never been since 1690. They've never been solid. This is about wink, wink. We all know why we're doing this. Wink, wink. The other thing is, when he said people stop cooperating, when did they ever cooperate? What the hell are you talking about? These guys are just fabricating things. They start writing their own fan fiction during their videos. It's really incoherent. It's psychotic. It's like talking to Norman Bates and Ted Bundy about, what they really did. It's like talking to the Joker. New reality every time you speak to him. So that was Matt right there. Okay, we are cooking with napalm here. So I've been through a few of those there before. Now I want to go a little bit further. Now. Because you see, there's a reason why I told you all that we're going to sit back in the cut. We're going to sit back in the cut and we're going to watch these things. Because it is very crucial that we make sure we get everybody who is involved with this. Everyone who's involved. Very important that we do this. Because this hits across a whole bunch of corners. YouTube and the internet. Remember, the internet was founded on two things: pornography and white supremacy. What? For those of you who are too young to remember the early days, although even today now you even know it, the internet, the public internet, CompuServe and all that, AOL, the public internet was founded on pornography and white supremacy. Late 80s through the 90s, the biggest websites on the internet were porn and white supremacist websites. These two that couldn't get access to broadcast media, couldn't get access to corporate media. They flooded the internet. The internet was mostly pornography and white supremacists. It really has only been in the last 20, 25 years that other media started to outnumber that. But don't ever be deceived. The public internet, the commercial internet, was wholesale white supremacists and pornography. Wall to wall to wall. So much so to the point that the reason why Google, the first thing that made Google have a more sophisticated algorithm was because the pornographers used to be doing little dirty tactics to get people to come to their websites. For example, Mickey Mouse. What? Don't believe me? Google it for yourselves. For those of you who are too young to remember, those of us who were there, remember Google had to filter for things like Mickey Mouse, and they had to redo their algorithm to prevent typing in the word Mickey Mouse in Google or Google Images from taking you to a porn site. Because that's what they were doing. The porn sites were sitting up here rigging it so if you typed in Mickey Mouse, cartoons and things, it would take you to the porn sites. White supremacy believes in targeting children. There's a reason why they're all in lockstep about this, because heinous, demonic bastards, they believe in targeting children. They'll sit up here and tell you about defending girls and boys in out of girls' bathrooms. These are the most child victimizing, and I'm talking about from pedophilia and everything else. These are folks who victimizing children means nothing to them. They target kids. And they have since the very beginning. This is how white supremacy works. But there are corners of white supremacy, and one of the corners in which I have been one of the most vocal advocates and proponents about has been the so-called manosphere. The manosphere that now the media wants to say something about here. Everyone knows since day one, I have always called out the manosphere for its white supremacist overtones. The manosphere, which was started by white guys who started the whole thing, it seemed to have one label, but as usual, it's never about what they claim it's about. Everything always boils back down to white supremacy. No matter what they're advocating for, working out, diet, fitness, dating, relationships, television, media, video games, when you start boiling it, it always distills down at its core. They always like, now, what we going to do about these niggas? And of course, the number of YouTube channels with it is absolutely overwhelming. There was one in particular here, and YouTube does everything they can to boost these folks in the algorithm because that is the goal in the job. That is the goal in the job, and that is their mission. There's one in particular, Legion of Men. Wait till you hear this one right here, and this one should go a little ominous for a bunch of other folks out there. Now, this is a channel that's supposed to be talking about dating and the manosphere and the problem with women and get your passports. This is what this channel is supposed to be about. We shouldn't be talking about race, and damn sure shouldn't be talking about Shiloh Hendrix. But guess what he goes veering off the road into on a so-called manosphere dating YouTube channel? Wait till you see what this one goes off to.
Like Nicaragua, fuck it, Costa Rica, whatever. Then it's fine. Totally cool. But when you're white and try to be proud about something, you can't. So in our Western society, you can't have patriotism. You can't have nationalism. You have to import people because making more white babies is bad. You can't talk about the degeneration of society in the context of progressive values and a rabid liberal individualism that's absolutely corrupted every institution at its core, with ideologies that are not rooted in biology in the natural world anyway. You can't say that we need to move in lockstep with one another, that we need to band together, that we need to secure the existence of our XYZ, whatever Western country you want to say you're from.
What? You can't say we want to secure the future. The 14 words by white supremacist killer David Lane. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. Folks, this is YouTube. This is YouTube. This is a video up on YouTube right now. a manosphere channel now that's supposed to be talking about women and dating. And yes, you all can hear his accent. By the way, you can hear his accent, so you know he's not a native-born American citizen. So you can hear his accent, and yet he's going full bore on white supremacy. People, it's just that deep for him.
With ideologies that are not rooted in biology in the natural world anyway. You can't say that we need to move in lockstep with one another, that we need to band together, that we need to secure the existence of our XYZ, whatever Western country you want to say you're from. I found out recently, just reading into history and stuff, because I find this conversation fascinating, especially what's going on with that Shiloh woman and this racial baiting shit that's going on with the GoFundMes and all this shit. You know, that's an interesting conversation for the culture. But I found out recently that the term melting pot in the United States was created around the time, or I should say, it was created by a dude named Israel Zangwill, something like that, in the year 9.
Oh, y'all remember what Chris Rock said? Never scared. He said, okay, you got to watch when you hear these folks talking about patriotism out of nowhere. Patriotism. And then Chris Rock said, that's when my ears go up. Because I know niggas and Jews is next. Oh, that train is never late. That train is never late. So he's talking about patriotism and nationalism, and next thing you know, oh, he takes a swipe at black folk, and oh, here we come. By the way, and about them Jews. Oh, man, y'all, he's hitting all the Nazi talking points, and this is a YouTube channel with 567,000 subscribers that YouTube blew up and inflated. This is what YouTube loves. You don't get there by accident. You can't get that many subscribers if YouTube doesn't give you that. You can't have this many subscribers if YouTube don't give you this many. YouTube has to give you that many. They have to make sure you're on the front page and that they keep promoting you over and over and over and over and over again. You can't get this number of people if you're shadow banned. You cannot get this many followers if you are shadow banned on YouTube. If they actually had a problem with it, you'd never make it this far. So when you got 567,000 subscribers, oh, YouTube boosts this. Oh, they make sure this is out there. You won't be able to get away from that. And take a look at what he's promoting.
States was created around the time, or I should say, it was created by a dude named Israel Zangwill, something like that, in the year 19, I don't know, it's like early 1910, 1908, something like that, early, dude, before the 1920s. America was like predominantly white, and they were having conversations then if Italians were even considered white, if Irish people were even considered white. So that the whole term of melting pot with the United States it was amongst the quote white races. I swear to you, check this, look it up. You can look it up because that's what it was. It was a melting pot of let's accept Italians as white, let's accept the Irish as white, let's accept the less white races because America was predominantly white back then as white, right? Let's all be a melting pot, obviously by a dude named Israel. So, you know, go look into that rabbit hole if you want. Who benefits from being called a melting pot, you know, when the state of Israel didn't exist. So you're seen as an outsider anyways. You're people with no land. And, you know, that kind of messaging probably is super advantageous for you when people are nationalistic, when are very much so patriotic about their blood, where they come from, their nation, their country. And you're seen as an outsider, people with no land, yada, yada. So that's a historical fact that you got to go look into yourself. But it threads into our current future. Our society today is exactly functioning, I don't know if I'd say as intended, but as a direct result of 2 world wars in Europe. Those shaped the culture, the way of life, the economic foundations.
2 world wars. Oh boy, I wonder if we're about to veer off into Nazi Germany here. Oh, these YouTube channels that try to hide those words, we don't do that over here. I wonder if we're about to take a detour now off into Nazi Germany and full white supremacy. And I wonder if that's where we're about to go, folks, on a channel that's He explains the reality of why everyone is single now. That's the name of the video. This is supposed to be about women. And before it's over, you get a great big huge heaping teaspoon, tablespoon, soup ladle, paint bucket of white supremacy mixed in with your manosphere mayo babble.
And the policy that we are living under today. But people think that so far in the past that that's history, that it has nothing to do with the way of life that we have today, with the rot, with the degradation and degeneration of society. I would argue that it's even more important today to look back during those times and see what happened then and how that led to the world we're living in today.
Well, that's interesting because white supremacists or suspected white supremacists like you, if we bring up slavery, you would tell us, well, that was a long time ago and therefore it's not bearing on today. That's what you would say. That's what all the suspected white supremacists and white supremacists say. They tell us that slavery and segregation, hell, civil rights, they would tell us, well, that was a long time ago. But dude, it's like 40 years ago. Long time ago there. That doesn't have any bearing on today. You all are always going back to ancient history. That doesn't matter today. And yet here he is telling you that, oh, no, this World War II is still affecting us today. Okay, then segregation, Jim Crow, civil rights, yeah, that's still affecting us today too. Oh, no, you folks just whine.
Just saying. Those are just historical facts. The guy that I'll double check this. I'll look this up just to be 100% sure. Okay. So the term melting pot as a metaphor describing the United States fusion of cultures was popularized by playwright, it says, Israel Zankwil through his play titled The Melting Pot, first performed in 1908. Israel was a British author of Jewish heritage who wrote The Melting Pot to reflect America's identity as a nation, absorbed and integrated immigrants from a diverse ethnicity into a new unified American culture. So, you had tons of British coming over, tons of Irish coming over, tons of Italians coming over, Germans coming over, and all the other countries from old world Europe. They had a bunch of migrants coming over to America for a new start. And that created the new unified American culture. That's what they meant by melting pot. But I've heard it used today as a argument for what American identity is, as in we have no identity. We are a melting pot. And that anybody who comes from any land, anywhere, at any time, like that we're arguing with a porous border, that those can be Americans too. That what is an American anyways? Very interesting. So there you go.
A guy with an accent that thick wants to lecture us on what being an American is. People, nobody ever said that white supremacists were smart. Like you're telling you, nobody said they were smart. Nobody said they were brilliant. They have you thinking, oh, they must be smart, but no, they're not. No, it isn't. They believe things. They don't know things. They just believe things. Black this, Jew that. But speaking of which, however, very interesting we would have that there because take a look at who weighed in on Shiloh Hendrix. Damn! Why, folks, it is none other than the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League. Now, there's no word on whether or not they're going to give her the Kanye West treatment. What? Now, there's no word on whether or not they're going to give her the Kanye West treatment. But rather encouraging to see that the ADL has decided to weigh in on this. They certainly have been in need of some image rehabilitation over the last couple of decades here, but the ADL wants you to know that white supremacists helped raise hundreds of thousands for a woman who hurled slur at black child. Oh, let's dig a little deeper. Over the last week, white supremacists, anti-Semites, come on, man, and racists have been supporting a woman accused of calling a black child a racial slur by helping to coordinate her donation drive and raising hundreds of thousands of dollars. They have leveraged the fundraising campaign to spread hateful talking points and legitimize their ideas. The woman, identified in media reports as Shiloh Hendrix. By the way, what is Shiloh Hendrix? Ethnic, racial background, I wonder? Was depicted in the video that began circulating on social media on April 28, 2025, allegedly accosting, folks, we got the damn thing on video. She admitted to it. Allegedly, she admitted it. She literally, the guy asked her, "Will you call him?" "Yeah, I sure did." That's not alleged anymore. Accosting a black 5-year-old at a playground in Rochester, Minnesota. Don't you mean autistic? 5-year-old. In the video, the man recording asked the woman if she called the child a nigger, and she responds by hurling the slur at the man recording as well. This is not very great here. She responded by admitting that yes, she did, and then calling the man that also. On May 1st, 2025, a crowdfunding campaign was created on GiveSendGo, a prominent facilitator of extremist crowdfunding to raise funds for Hendrix. It is unclear who was authentically involved in creating the campaign, although several ex-users known to promote extremist and anti-black rhetoric have since claimed shared responsibility for coordinating the effort. They assert that Hendrix will be the primary recipient of the funds, and the GiveSendGo campaign page indicates this is the case. The GiveSendGo campaign immediately went viral on X, and the link to the page was mentioned over 25,000 times in the days that followed the circulation of the video. As of this writing, the campaign has received over $700,000 of its $1 million goal from over 26,500 donors, with many of the donation comments commenting white supremacist, racist, and anti-Semitic messaging, names, and denominations. A COE review of 23,409 donations as of May 4th, 2025 at 1:45 p.m. For the GiveSendGo campaign found that 13,031 or 56% of donations included a comment and or a name. The remaining contributors left the space for this information blank. Further review of the donations with a comment and or name found that 3,935 or roughly 30% included white supremacist, racist, or anti-Semitic content. The comments and donation names included a wide variety of racial slurs against black people, white supremacist and Nazi symbols, and calls for the killing or deportation of non-whites and Jews. Dozens used their donation comment to leverage anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Such messages included, "Jews are the reason we're in this mess. Jews have been flooding our countries with the bioweapons for centuries. Jews are using diverse immigrants to dilute the white population, and the Goyim are figuring out Jews are using non-whites to wage their ancient war against God." What? Yeah. Folks, I mean, I don't know what you got to smoke, what you got to drink, what you got to be on, but yeah. Soon, the number of hateful comments ballooned, and GiveSendGo disabled the ability to leave comments with donations, though the platform notably did not shut down the campaign itself. After comments were disabled, donors exploited the name field to continue to spread their hatred. 14 of the top 20 most repeated donor names include white supremacist or racist references, including the Spoonerism Hate Higgers 130 times, White Lives Matter 24, and TND Total Nigger Death 19. Donations were also made in denominations of white supremacist numerical codes, such as 14 and 88. At the time of this report, there were 693 donations for $14, 99 donations for $88, and 26 donations that use variations of 1488. From the start, the campaign to raise money for Hendrix has been promoted by white supremacist ex-users. One user who identifies himself as organizer and admin for the Shiloh Hendrix campaign in his ex-bio has a history of espousing extremist tropes and racist rhetoric, including conspiracy theories about white replacement and white genocide. Other white supremacist users promoting the campaign have claimed to be in contact with Hendrix herself and clarified that she would be receiving all the money. White supremacists are using the Hendrix incident, coupled with the April 2025 fatal stabbing of a white teen, Austin Metcalf in Frisco, Texas, to promote the false black-on-white crime narrative that black people are inherently violent and are a threat to white people. Well, ADL, I'll give you credit for at least saying that one accurately. Well, at least I will give you credit for that. I hope this won't be the last time I ever get to do that one. Hopefully, this is the beginning of a trend. This narrative has been a major driver for donations to the Hendrix campaign, with white supremacists pushing supporters to give to her campaign in a bid to outraise another Give, Send, Go campaign. So on X, white supremacist influencer Nick Fuentes referred to the Hendrix fundraiser as a middle finger to certain black people, including Anthony, concluding that white people have had enough. So Tim Pool and Matt Walsh are in good company with Nick Fuentes. Please remember that. They're in good company with him. Several prominent white supremacist influencers and groups appear to have donated to the Hendrix fundraising campaign, using the campaign to promote themselves and their groups. Prominent white supremacist influencer Paul Miller, aka Gypsy Crusader, appears to have donated $50 to Hendrix. Boy, that's a big believer. Wow, he's a big believer. He gave her all of $50. Wow. There's a true believer if I ever met one. $50. That's not even an electric bill. Calling her a based queen. Alleged organizers of the campaign have named Miller as one of the individuals, quote, directly involved in running and administering the crowdfunding effort. Miller claimed on X that he was, quote, very proud to be a part of it. Chris Paulhouse, the founder and leader of Blood Tribe, appears to have donated $20. White supremacist Ryan J. Murdaugh of the New England White Network also appears to have donated at least $75, writing, quote, you have support from all over the nation. Please consider moving to New England. You have a pre-existing network of racially aware white families already here waiting for you, along with links to his Gab account. So, folks, this is the full-blooded white supremacist network coming out the woodwork, and I am all the way checking for it. This is exactly what we want. Stop hiding. Take off your damn sheets and robes. Come on out and say it in the open. Display your banners openly. Fly them open. Keep trying to make the world safe for this. Stop hiding. Go ahead and give us person after person, name after name, incident after incident that we can document in the real world. Give us everything we need. Don't stop now. Catch the feeling. An individual promoting the white supremacist group Hate Club donated $20 and include the 14 words in their message. People, Hate Club. You thought I was kidding. This is literally the Injustice League. You thought it was cartoonish when Magneto called his group the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. People, Hate Club. I don't know how much more clearly I can make it. Hate Club. This is a real thing. Come on. Next up is Evil Incorporated. People, Hate Club. You figure to yourself, nobody would call themselves that. Jason, you people just make jokes. You're being hyperbolic. Nobody would really call themselves hate. Oh boy. Oh boy. Awkward. People. There's literally a hate club. Next up, Injustice League. I hope they hurry up and do that one. Yeah, the Legion of Evildoers. It's the United Nations of Bad Guys. This is where we at with it today. Is anybody doubting who the good guys are? This is like, damn me, Lord of the Rings in reverse. Like the good guys wear black and the bad guys are wearing white supremacist white outfits. This is like the Lord of the Rings in reverse. I mean, they're literally calling themselves bad, evil, injustice, hate. They're literally doing this. Our grandkids are going to think that we were crazy when we say this. When we say that we were the good guys and we were literally up against, evil is us. Evil are us. Evil Incorporated. Wicked Today, the Brotherhood of Evil Dudes. They're going to think we just made this all up, or they're going to think it's just one or two fellas out there. No, but Grandpa, you're so crazy. No one would ever do that. This is like out of a comic book. They're literally calling themselves evil and hate. And you'll have people talk about, well, you guys are not the good guys. Okay, so the fellows who call themselves Hate Club, that's the good guys? They didn't even call themselves Love Club. You know, just to be contradictory. Hey, we're like Bizarro. We don't really love you. We hate you. No, we're Hate Club. Yeah, and we hate you. Truth in advertising. So they're the good guys? The fellas with the name, tell me one good thing in this world that's called hate. Even the people who campaign against cancer don't say we hate cancer. Damn. Even though they do. But yeah, the folk who raise money for cancer, hey, we hate cancer. Join us for the hate cancer clubs. Wait a minute, no, don't call it that. No, don't do that one. Beat cancer, fight cancer, kill cancer. Don't say hate cancer. We'll raise all the $3. Don't do that one. Similarly, a user promoting the American Black Shirts movement donated $14. Boy, times are lean over there in hate society, y'all. Times are lean. $50, $20, $14. Man, times are lean over there. Yeah, I get it, the numerology, but at least he could have gave a denomination of 14, 28, 56, 128. He could have kept going at least. Good grief. Urging viewers to join ABM and, quote, forget white guilt, people. So in order to not be plagued or cursed with white guilt, you need to go call a black person nigger. That's Tim Pool, and I'm just glad that he came out and said it. If you won't call black people nigger, well, you're just handicapped by white guilt. So what they're saying is the good white people go around calling people nigger. That's what they're saying. This is where we are today, and I'm so glad that they've taken off the phony pretenses and just come on out and said it. The Pennsylvania chapter of White Lives Matter. They have different chapters. Oh boy, that's got to be the lamest ass thing. They're sitting there doing square dancing in the two-step. Oh, that's got to be, what do you think their lodge meetings are like? Oh boy, gluten-free ice cream and tofu, rice cakes. Oh man. What do y'all think the White Lives Matter lodge meeting is like? The Pennsylvania chapter of White Lives Matter appears to have donated $14 and included a link to the group's Telegram channel. Several donors promoted the anti-Semitic Goyim Defense League. Oh, man. No wonder the ADL joined in. They're like, oh, this is getting out of control. With one large $1,488 donation calling black people savages and including a shout out to Goyim TV, the network's video streaming service. They have a video streaming service? Wait a minute. Folks, there's enough of them to have a whole streaming service? The Goyim Defense League has Goyim TV. There are enough people who classify themselves as Goyim. If you don't know about some of your Jewish, Gentile, unkind labels, you can look up Goyim. But there's enough of them to have a streaming service? I didn't know there were enough self-identifying Goyim to have their own streaming. What do they play? Oh, this has got to be the lamest Netflix knockoff you've ever. Goyim TV. I can't. What are they doing? Like reruns of Lawrence of Arabia? Reruns of Daniel Boone? Oh, I can't imagine how lame that is. What are they playing? old Hitler videos. What are we doing? Many of the donations included links to GDL websites. A well-known affiliate of the network appears to have donated $14 to Hendrix, thanking her for, quote, calling out these Jewish-funded third world bioweapons, along with a link to the network's propaganda website. Jewish-funded dude, a 5-year-old in the park. Black people were in North America before any white people were. What do you people just, okay, yeah, your head will explode. Just, dude, have you ever opened up a history? Have you sniffed one? Can you spell history? What are you talking about? And bioweapons, who was it who brought all the diseases to North America? I'm talking about deliberately created smallpox-infested blankets. Bioweapons. All right. Various active clubs also ostensibly donated to the campaign, also using it to promote themselves. Palmetto Active Club appears to have donated $60. Tribal Active Club, Arizona, Wyoming Active Club, and Great Plains Active Club appear to have donated $20 each. You know a true believer when they broke off $20 for the race war. You know a true believer when you got that. The prominent Western chauvinist Telegram channel affiliated with the Proud Boys made and forwarded several posts supporting Hendrix, with one reading, "White guilt is over. We have officially destroyed it." What? Folks, do you see how silly that is? Okay, I don't give a damn if she raises $10 million. It's one campaign, dude. Talk about overstating your action. Y'all are this hyped off of $700,000. White guilt is over. Bruh, really? Really? That's not a reach. That's not a stretch. That's getting torn out the frame. Really? White guilt is over? We going that far with it? This is wishful thinking. This is wish fulfillment. The same post was shared by the white supremacist Atlantic Nationalist Club. An ex-account affiliated with the white supremacist group Blood Tribe made a repost to the platform praising Hendrix that linked to the Give Send Go campaign. Beyond providing online and financial support, white supremacists demonstrated their backing for Hendrix in the physical world. For example, during a May 3rd demonstration in Toronto, Canada, a group of white supremacists, including individuals associated with Nationalist 13 and several active clubs, chanted, "Shiloh Hendrix did nothing wrong." Several white supremacist groups also distributed propaganda related to the incident. The White Supremacist National Organization for Vital Action, NOVA, oh boy, placed several stickers at the Rochester, Minnesota playground where the incident took place, with one sticker reading, "Access to whites is not a human right," and another reading, "White Unity." A Midwest-based active club also made a post showing the group stickers in Rochester. American Freedom Party posted stickers with Hendrix's face and the caption, "Stand against anti-white terror campaigns" at unknown locations in central Massachusetts. So the Anti-Defamation League has weighed in. The Anti-Defamation League has weighed in on it. Now, here's what I want to say before we go any further. I want to say this before we go any further. Of course, I am very happy to see that the white supremacists have been so emboldened by Donald Trump's election that they have finally just come on out the closet, and they're going all the way overboard because in their desperation, they have become impatient. For those of you who understand the art of war, you understand that patience is the second most necessary quality of war, although the most important quality, deception, you can't pull it off if you're not patient. If you don't hit when you're actually actually ready. You're premature, you blew your wad, and now you're vulnerable and left wide open. They were so emboldened by one little old bitty presidential election that they started drawing all kinds of outrageous conclusions as a result, all the wish fantasies they wished were true. And now they sat up here and exposed the whole damn plot, and they're trying to move way too fast. For those of you who saw my best-selling documentary, Race War, you will remember the chapter Rahowa, the younger and the elder. There was a conflict between white supremacist Richard Spencer and white supremacist Jared Taylor. And Jared Taylor was disavowing himself of Richard Spencer not because he did not agree with the things that Richard Spencer and the alt-right and Unite the Right were saying. Jared Taylor's issue with them was not that. His issue with Richard Spencer, and he said so, was that they were too confrontational. They turned things into a circus. Richard Spencer was all about being big and boisterous and going viral. And Jared Taylor understood, you're being too blatant. You're being too controversial. You're saying things that we can't defend. By being so in your face and controversial, we got to move slower than this, because if we move slower, we can ease it back into the society. But by you being so blatant and controversial, you're alerting everybody to the fact that there's an emergency. And now everyone's going to jump up and start fighting us. Whereas if we move slowly, it's like the frogs in a skillet. If we just heat it up slowly, they'll all sit still until we have covertly and secretly and quietly re-grab the levers of power. You're alerting everybody. You're being too blatant. You're being too open. Yeah, we agree with what you're saying, but you're being too open with it. You're doing too much. Well, folks, what they're showing you is they didn't learn a damn thing. They did not. Even Richard Spencer has gotten quieter now. Richard Spencer gets quiet, and here comes Tiny Tim Pool and Musty Matt Walsh. Didn't learn a damn thing. They didn't learn anything from Charlottesville and the fallout. Not a thing. Because what happened after Charlottesville, Trump got kicked out of office. That's what happened. You know why? Because the pendulum swings. What they're upset about is because the majority of the last decade, the pendulum has been on our side of the clock. Because of the Democrats' mishandling of the country, the white supremacist mascot, Donald Trump, was allowed back in office, and they've taken it as an approval of them when it isn't. They're in the same boat they were in before. Nothing has changed on the ground, except they're trying to talk themselves into as if this is going to be a bigger, better deal for them. It won't be. And what I'm telling you all is that the pendulum is going to swing back, because it always does, because it always must. The pendulum is gonna swing back the other way. And when it does, I'm doing this video so that we can document all of the racist bastards. They're on the record. They cannot run. They cannot hide. They can't do away with it. I've downloaded their videos. You will have to stand on this. And you will have to stand by this. You will not be able to walk it backwards. You won't be able to jump up in a few years and claim that's not really what you meant. You won't be able to do any of that. Just a few short years ago, we had everybody who even claimed to be saying something that was anti-black taking down their Twitter posts, taking down their feeds, taking down their comments, removing their videos, sanitizing their timelines. And you're thinking that, oh, well, don't worry, Donald Trump's going to make sure we don't have to go back to that. Dude, you're whistling past the graveyard. Just a few short years ago, actually just a couple of years ago, that's what it was. And the pendulum is going to swing back there, because it always does, because it always must. And you will be on that side of it with some incredibly heinous things that you're going to have to try to defend. And it will not be very comfortable and it won't be very nice. And you'll all be sitting over there on that side of it. What you all are gambling on is that you will not have a reversal of fortunes. That's what you're gambling on. You're gambling that there's another Elon Musk out there somewhere who's going to buy YouTube or buy Facebook or buy some other social media platform so that you all won't get deplatformed and sent back to the caves again. That's what you're wagering on. Never mind the fact that just a couple of short years ago, you didn't have any place you could be at all, and there isn't another multi-billionaire who's willing to buy another social media site to save your bacon. So, the Daily Wire, which is currently reportedly in financial trouble. They've been reporting about this now for weeks, that the Daily Wire is in financial trouble. So some of these people will be able to float by themselves. Candace Owens, Brett Cooper, Matt Walsh, some of them will be able to float by themselves, but please understand that puts you in a very precarious situation because you don't have the millionaires that help fund the Daily Wire to get them started. You won't be able to rely on them. They're not going to want to throw good money after bad. Furthermore, for Matt Walsh, it'll get really rough for him because as we cataloged last week, Matt Walsh has been saying a bunch of decidedly anti-Israel things. And while he says those things, he's protected while he's at the Daily Wire because he's up under their umbrella. But if it's Matt all by himself, and if he's no longer got that blanket of protection, I just wonder if Matt has to sit up here and fight the Israeli lobby all by himself. Tucker Carlson can do that because Tucker Carlson is already wealthy. I didn't say rich, I said wealthy. Remember, he's one of the heirs to the Swanson food fortune. What? For those of you who did not know. Yeah, on CNN, Anderson Cooper is one of the Vanderbilts. Well, Tucker Carlson is one of the Swansons. So when you go to the store and see those Swanson frozen foods, that's Tucker Carlson's family. That's his family. So he ain't worried about television or getting canceled. He's not worried about that. He's the heir to a family fortune already. He ain't got to get there. He was already born with a silver spoon in his mouth and up his other orifice. He was already born set. He's here to make sure the rest of you don't get nothing now. He was already born set. Matt's still trying to get there. So you kind of just wonder, Matt, maybe you'll be able to outrun, outdo, and outlast. Then again, maybe you won't. Well, you're in perilous times. I know, right now it seems like the salad days. Right now it does, but you're in perilous times, dude. You're betting everything. You bet the whole farm on this one here. You bet the whole farm. You see, when you sit up here and you sell all this hate signaling, talk about virtue signaling, all this hate signaling, when you go off and do this kind of stuff, you have to understand the pendulum is gonna swing back the other way. At some point it will. And when it does, don't be surprised if that pendulum swings and knocks you in the head. Now, folks, on top of everything else, we got a fully stacked program here tonight, and believe it or not, I'm only like half the way through because, man, oh man, why did I go off and go set this off? On the Pierce Morgan program, Mark Lamont Hill, he started off okay, then he spazzes the hell out, which was really embarrassing on his part, but of course, they're going to do what they're going to do. But this was a surprising program there, to say the least, on so many different levels. We've been going so long here right now, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. because I got to deal with this part in depth. Wait till you hear some of what Mark Lamont Hill had to say. Wait till you hear some of this. Many y'all thought you were floored when you heard Roland Martin channeling me and Roland Martin saying my phrases and my words. You thought that was as bad as it can get. Wait until you hear this. Before we do, I want to thank everyone who's contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shy here to the code leads. Black America could use a little time and space away from this system. Yeah, you got a point about that. Also to Nancy, Nancy King, thank you very much for your support as well, sister. Erwin Davis, we appreciate that. Cyberdown 100, Bruce Warren, and to everyone who's contributed to support tonight's program, thank you very much for your support. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, folks, Pierce Morgan, Mark Lamont Hill, you thought Roland floored you channeling me. Wait till you hear Mark Lamont Hill do it. Your heads are going to spin clean off your shoulders. This is the Black Channel.
When you visit MrBeTheTeacher.com, you can get a copy of his award-winning book, Guidelines for the Successful Student. While you're there, grab one of his newest tunes along with fun and educational lyric videos.
Never give up, don't worry, never give up, study. In order to 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times swap names, he, she, they, and we. Simplify the satanic divides as the following guide. Money multiplies and shares of what they buy.
You can also acquire his tutoring services via varsitytutors.com or tutor.com. If you wish to speak to Steve Burgess directly, you can do so through MrBeTheTeacher.com.
The Honey Badger and the Mongoose is a children's story for the family of how a honey badger and mongoose fight an evil alliance of venomous cobra snakes and hyenas that overhauls the balance of the savannah. The Big Five. The honey badger demands reparations. Will the Big Five give the honey badger reparations? Can the evil alliance of cobras and hyenas be stopped? The best new price for the hard and soft cover is at www.thehoneyBadgerandthemongoose.com. You can also find this book at Amazon, Audible, and Kindle.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slavery and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. And Pierce Morgan, people, Pierce Morgan. Once again, this is why you all trust me as the anchor man of the new black media, because I'm willing to sit through this garbage that nobody else is. I'm willing to trudge through this sewage to go ahead and bring you back the news and the information that you absolutely have to have, the 720 degrees of analysis you receive nowhere else. And this confirms it yet again. Yes, I watched the whole damn thing. I sent this out there and it's blown up ever since. And I guess I have the ignominious, look it up. I guess I have the questioning and slightly embarrassing distinction of being the person who did that. So they had a panel. They had on Mark Lamont Hill. They had on Myron from Fresh and Misfit. They had on two white women, one of them in particular, white nationalist. You know, she's channeling her inner Jared Taylor, was what she was doing. So Piers Morgan talked to them there for a minute. He talked to them, and of course, you know, when you bring on Myron, of course, it's going to devolve into coonery and buffoonery. Mark Lamont Hill doesn't do very good at these things. He never has. He never has, and he just can't. But this time he decided to not depend on his own knowledge. He decided to channel his inner FBA. He's decided to channel his inner Friedman. And boy, it worked out for him way better than he possibly thought it could have. He's going to have to start rethinking all these moist LGBT affectations. That didn't work. He channeled a little bit of us, and it was a knockout on first contact, right up until he snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. So, fair use, Piers Morgan, by the way. Fair use, by the way, here. I'm stepping on everybody's toes tonight. But listen to this exchange right here that Pierce is going to be. He kind of calls out Myron a little bit, but take a look where this goes.
Had to have BLM and liberalism shoved down our throats, and quite frankly, we're all tired of it.
Right, but just to be clear, you would have no problem with one member of this panel openly saying she uses the N-word at black people with impunity and is proud of being a racist. You have no problem with that?
My worldview on the protection of the First Amendment and freedom of speech overrides my personal feelings. She has the right to say
That's fine.
it.
You can support the First Amendment, but you can also have a personal view about what she said.
My feelings are irrelevant. The Constitution is the Constitution. That's what matters.
Oh, that's fascinating. Hold on. So when it comes to chastising black Americans about their behavior, about calling white people crackers, as you say, about their moral claims, about the racist system, you can levy a judgment against black Americans for all the things they do. But when it comes to this woman saying the N-word, and this other woman endorsing it and saying that she herself uses the N-word, now all of a sudden we can only talk about the Constitution and the legal right. We can't offer any moral judgment against it. That's disingenuous. And it's as the only black American up here, that's quite frustrating to hear.
Here's the thing.
Did y'all hear that?
Nigga, what? Nigga, please. Nigga, what?
Oh, did y'all hear that? Oh, man. Mark Lamont Hill said, I need some credentials. Mark Lamont Hill said, I need some credentials. I need to have some real bona fide credentials to speak. Oh, he came over here with that little limp wrist and like Lil Nas X, move y'all out the way. Oh, man. Y'all thought y'all had heard and seen everything, didn't you? You didn't think 2025 had any more surprises in store for you. You figured we've reached the mountaintop. It's all downhill from here. Oh, wait a minute. Got one more coming for you. Oh, boy, y'all are wondering, is this invasion of the nigger snatchers? What? Did somebody kidnap Mark Lamont Hill? You know, you're waiting for me or Dr. Umar Johnson like pull on the face and rip off the mask and, ha, I got you, it's us. You thought you had Mark Lamont Hill. We snuck up in here. You like Mission Impossible. You're thinking it's going to be like that kind of moment. You know, just he's going to reach across his face and then peel off this mask and you figure it's going to be Jason sitting there. No. It ain't that, but man, just in case you were wondering. Now, by the way, I want to let that play for just a little bit beyond that, just so you can hear what the reaction was to it.
Saying the N-word, and this other woman endorsing it and saying that she herself uses the N-word. Now, all of a sudden, we can only talk about the Constitution and the legal right. We can't offer any moral judgment against it. That's disingenuous. And it's as the only black American up here, that's quite frustrating to hear.
Here's the thing. If you want to be soft and get offended by that, that's your fucking problem, not mine.
Let me ask Ricky.
We're not even.
Let me ask Ricky. Ricky,
this isn't about being soft any more than when you were desperately saving.
Okay, well, Mark is fumbling over his words there, Mark. So he already rattled you there. You got to be ready for that. If you sit up there and throw verbal jabs, you got to be ready to come back with the hook. You got to be ready to come back with the cross. You can't sit up there and just say that and then you're groping for words. It doesn't work that way, Mark. It doesn't work that way. You're not ready. You're not ready. Not ready for it. But once again here, just in case you thought that was all, oh, no, it goes even further than that. A little bit late, well, not a little bit later, a lot later in the program. It comes back around again. Once again here, Pierce, fair use for you, Pierce, buddy, fair use. They come back in the program here. Let me go a little bit ahead of that because Mark Lamont Hill's trying to talk. Let me go a little bit further here.
All right, Mark Lamont Hill, your last words on this.
This repeated use of the word, I think, first of all, I want to just register that as offensive, particularly as someone who doesn't identify as a member of that community and who is not, right? I think that's incredibly
I'm the definition of African American. I'm the definition of African American.
And troublesome. And to as a Sudanese American or an outsider who's using African American, the very technical term, the same way that Elon Musk is an African American, I think it is a bit disingenuous. But the bigger issue here, I think, is that, you know, this idea of equating of one side to the other side often loses track of this issue of power. To use his example, when Black people stand up and say, hey, let's build our own stuff. Hey, let's have a Black power movement. That is not the same as a white power. I'll let you speak uninterrupted. Let me finish, please, my Sudanese brother.
Y'all see how Mark keeps bringing up Sudanese? You're not Black American. You notice how Mark keep doing that? When did Mark start doing this, y'all? When did Mark start delineating? Someone explain to me, when did Mark start delineating? When did he start talking like this, y'all? When did he start making this a point? When did Mark start doing this? We see you, messy Mark. We see you. We just couldn't help but notice, hey, bro, you know, you don't really talk like that much.
White power. I'll let you speak uninterrupted. Let me finish, please, my Sudanese brother. So when a Black person says, hey, let's preserve our culture, I have no problem with Italians or Irish people or anyone else saying let's preserve our culture. But when we don't talk about ethnicity, but actual race, and when white people say let's preserve whiteness, it's an exclusionary practice. It's about preserving laws and practices and tactics that do harm to other people. A Black power movement was about opening stores and building businesses. A white power movement was a white power. That's the giga. A white power movement was about something very, 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 very different. A white power movement included lynchings, it included Ku Klux Klan, etc. So let's not pretend that these are opposite sides of the same coin. When white people say, let's save our country, and even using language of our country, when Black people built this thing, when you say that, you're talking about forcing people out of the country. You're talking about laws that discriminate. You're talking about doing harm to people. Let's not pretend these are the same thing, just like these GoFundMe campaigns are not the same thing. I'm okay if everybody gets out of the GoFundMe industrial complex. I'd love that. But let's not pretend that supporting someone for a fair trial is the same thing as supporting a grown white woman berating and calling the N-word to a 5-year-old autistic Black child. And the fact that everyone in here can't be unanimous in condemning that says exactly how they're not the same.
I totally agree. I'm going to go to Lily Gaddis and just ask you one more time. I mean, you've been so unashamedly proud of being a racist today, proud of...
So, y'all, Mark Lamont Hill is trying to channel his inner FBA, which, by the way, I'm like, Mark, you've had some shaky credentials in that. Mark has kind of had some shaky credentials in that department. So to see this happen all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, man, where did this come from? Where did this come from, y'all? It's like, well, I mean, is this the same person? Oh, we got to check the paperwork. We got to check the paperwork. We must check the paperwork. It's absolutely essential that we check the paperwork now. No false flagging will be allowed, but we got to check the paperwork. All right, folks. Mark tried to channel masculinity through this interview, through this panel. He was doing all right up until here. Mark was actually able to hold the moistness at bay for almost an hour, right up until he got here, but then he couldn't contain it anymore. Oh, y'all, his G-string got to twitching, and off he goes on the deep end. But not before he gets in one more jab, by the way.
Using the N-word whenever you feel like it. You've had a bit of time to think about this. Is that how you want people to leave this panel debate, with thinking of you as a disgusting racist?
I don't really really care what people think about me. As long as you care about what people think about you, you have no power and you lose your country. What I care about is freedom of speech. And if you're not allowed to say the most offensive things in this country, you do not have freedom of speech. I don't care what anybody says. So that's the main crux of this situation. That's what I care about with this situation. It is, we have lived for far too long in a country where you can have your life destroyed. And people say, oh, she doesn't need this money. Her life's destroyed, by the way. She'll never be able to get another job. She's got children to have to support. And I don't want to live in a country where you can say an inappropriate, rude thing, which, by the way, black people can say things to white people all the time and they never get canceled. There's no backlashing about this. I want to live.
She never names who that is. These mythical black people who can just talk to white folk however they want to. This mystical, magical, phony black equivalent. They never give a single example of who these mythical black folk are talking crazy to white people. They never show it. They just claim it exists. And oh, well, this just soon exists. Okay. Without one scintilla of evidence. Well, I'm white and I said it.
In a country where people are allowed to say what they want unashamedly. And you will
well, go
not
on then,
have
say
free-
it. Say
you
the
will
M-
not have
Go on,
free
say,
speech.
go on. Say the M word. Go on.
No.
Hang on.
Invite. No. I don't want you to invite this woman to say a racially harmful term in front of me because I'm the only on here. So if she says it, I'm the victim of it. So please don't invite her for ratings to call me the N-word because that's basically what it's going to be. There's a bunch of white people up here. You and one Uncle Tom on the left here, and asking her to say the N-word while I'm here is ridiculous. You would not sit here with a Jewish person and say, please use a Jewish slur in front of this Jewish. It's ridiculous. I understand.
So Myron got real upset when he said that. Oh, Myron got upset, y'all. Myron got upset. But then Mark Lamont Hill, I'm like, Pierce, cut his mic, cut his feed. Y'all see what happened. I mean, he just spazzed all the hell the way out. Mark for the first time in his deficient life, he was actually doing pretty good when he channeled his inner Jason Black. When he doing that, he was actually, for the first time ever on a panel, he wasn't a complete embarrassment to men, maxi pads, and Fisher-Price toys. He was finally not a total embarrassment across the board. And then literally within the last 60 seconds of the program, he flies off the rails and goes into this monumental temper tantrum, this epic meltdown in front of the world. It was embarrassing. It was shameful. He needs a bib and a diaper is what he needs. Pierce Morgan almost had the chick. If we could have got her to go ahead and say that, that would have been great and wonderful. Mark Lamont Hill spazzes out every couple of months. This is exposing the white supremacists across the board and making sure they can't walk these things backwards. That's what the hell we're looking for. That's what we need. So, of course, Mark had to jump in and play Black Savior. Of course he had to do that. He had to jump in and play Black Savior. So it's so terrible. I'm just having a terrible time right there. So it's always got to be about Mark.
Because you would not sit here with a Jewish person and say, please use a Jewish slur in front of this Jewish. It's ridiculous. I understand you don't have any bad intent, Pierce. I understand what you're trying to do. But we already know she's racist. And I don't want to invite
Mark, this is why we don't let you represent us. This is why you can't do it, Mark. Don't use our words. Don't use our phrases. Don't try to signify on our side of the fence with that janky ass paperwork you got. Hey, bro, you can't. This right here is the reason you can't do it. You ain't got the heart. You ain't got the spirit. If white supremacists can get you this riled up and this completely spiraling out of control like that, brother, you ain't built like us. You're not built like us. You can't carry the mantle of black manhood, much less black society. You can't carry that. It's too heavy for you. It's too big for you, too broad for you, too heavy for you. You don't have what it takes to be able to lift this load, much less carry it. You can't do it. You're not qualified. The females wouldn't have done this. This metrosexual LGBT knockoff stuff you're doing, the females wouldn't have responded and spiraled like this, dude. The chicks wouldn't have spazzed like this. And this is also what I mean by you get Negroes out here, they get in front of white folk and they start becoming subservient children. That's why Piers Morgan brought them on, because that's what Mark does. So he sees some white folk and he's got to sit up here and bow and scrape and beg. This is why you can't represent us, Mark. This is why you have no credibility in the field. You have no credibility on the street, because this is what you are. That ain't us. That ain't us. We cut completely different from you. Completely different. Never let him see you sweat. He's in front of at least one white supremacist, maybe two on that panel. Bro, you ain't supposed to be sitting up there melting down like this. You're not supposed to be melting down like this. So this is why we say don't ever come back out trying to represent us again. You sit in the back in the high chair. You sit in the kiddie car. That's where you belong, Mark. You attempted to transition from puberty to adulthood. It was an abysmal failure. Give it up. It ain't working. It's not working for you. Not gonna work for you. In the chat room, Richard Curtis, I'm so glad you decided to chime in for that. So glad that Richard Curtis has. Let's go ahead and put his information to the side, since he has decided that he will hurry, step right up and follow the leader. We're gonna go ahead and open up the Zoom lines. I'm so glad that Richard Curtis in the chat room has weighed in. So glad you had that to say. Absolutely. No problem there at all, Rich. All right, let's go ahead and get you on up here. As a matter of fact, we'll go ahead and get Richard up here. He has decided that something is bothering him. It's weighing on his conscience. It's weighing on his conscience. He can't sit still. It's bothering. What I'm saying about Mark Lamont Hill is bothering him tremendously. He is very, very bothered about what I said about Mark Lamont Hill. It's got him triggered. It's got him bothered. It's got him worried. It's got him worried. He's very, 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 very tense about that whole thing. It's messing with his equilibrium. So Richard has 2 minutes to go ahead and be on Zoom, since he has asked for it here, and absolutely no waiting. We make it fully available to you. And also, by the way, Tim Pool supporters, Matt Walsh supporters, don't hide in the back there. If you are a white person and you have decided that your ability to yell nigger is what is required in order to prove that you are no longer saddled with white guilt. If you're a person who agrees with Tim Pool and Matt Walsh that yelling racial epithets at black people, that's what proves that you're not saddled with white guilt. The Zoom link is now open. Go ahead and click on that. Sit back, smile, and dial, and you can go ahead and tune in with us here. Also, remember the rules on Zoom. Make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on. You will not be in front of the internet. So first things first, that's only for me, just to make sure we don't have any trolling issues disrupting the conversation. So the internet will not see you, but make sure if you call up on Zoom, make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on, just to make sure we don't have any trolling issues. No one else will see you except for the host. That's me. No one else will see you, but we just want to make sure we don't have any trolling issues, just to make sure that that does not occur. So we are completely fine with open discussion. You can disagree with the host. You can question the host. That's not a problem. The only thing we don't allow is trolling. That's the only thing we do not allow. So if you have an argument or a point to make, the floor will be yours, and you'll be allowed to do so. Anyone who's tuned in the last few weeks here, I've had folk who called in, they were white, black, and otherwise. They agree with me. Some of them disagree with me. That's perfectly fine. You are allowed to do so. You do have that freedom of speech here. I extend that to you. Just make sure that we don't have any issues with that. And also here, that is available to all of you. So if you want to go ahead and give us a call up, the Zoom link is now open and available. Yeah, folks, they are out here. They are upset. They are having trouble. They are beside themselves. They don't know what to do. They're desperate to get us back to solid white supremacist dominance. They're desperate to get us back there. Their deficiency and fragility and all of their inadequacies is boiling up inside of them. And they didn't have the good sense or strategic knowledge to know that you're moving too damn fast. They just been sitting on it so long that they've had an emotional eruption, and now they're off saying, yay, white supremacy's in again. Finally, white supremacy's in again. Never mind the demographics. You know, that never stopped. I told you all this after the election. They're literally telling themselves that black people, Donald Trump being elected, is proof that black people as a group now embrace white supremacy and white folks' ability to be racist. Judge Jeanine Pirro on Fox. That's what they're telling themselves. Absolute lunacy, but that's what they're telling themselves. It is insane. It's crazy, but it's what they're doing. So if you want to know how it is that they thought they could get away with that, this is how they told themselves they could do that. Now, we do have somebody here on Zoom. Please make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on for me on Zoom. Make sure we keep up with all that. All right, we got Correct here with a very interesting slow Zoom you got going on. Very dramatic. All right, Correct, what's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, brother? I'm calling out of New York City, out of Queens, New York. And I just want to make a comment on Brother Lamont Hill, Dr. Lamont Hill. I think that he just got overwhelmed. Like you said, I agree with you. But the point I have is that a lot of the people who say, I don't like hearing this person repeat the N-word and how he operated, and he called the brother a coon and all that stuff. Brothers on the internet do that all the time. They call each other the N-word all the time, and they try to make some weird distinction between the ER and the A. It doesn't make any sense to me. That's all I wanted to say, brother. Okay, well, let's go ahead and address that. Now, brother, before we go any further, are you from New York? Not originally, but I've been here for 3 decades, yeah.
Oh, okay, where are you originally from?
Texas.
Okay, well, then why the hell you moved from Texas to New York? You didn't
Listen, brother,
have enough taxes?
We don't have all night, brother.
Didn't have enough taxes in Texas? Good grief. Okay. What do you say? Life is too cheap and easy down here. I need more of a challenge. Okay.
I'll tell you, brother. It's a challenge up here.
Your kinfolk are from New York?
No, sir. All my kinfolk are from the South.
Okay, that's real weird there, brother. That's real strange. And you know
some people have called me that.
Okay, well, I'm not saying you strange. I'm just saying that turn of events is a little odd. But you know what? I'll leave that there until further notice. But how old are you? How old are you, brother?
I'm 52.
Okay, well then you are way more than old enough. So let's address a few things here. Maybe you missed my point here earlier because somebody tries to pull this out every once in a while. And the problem is they're not thinking logically and thinking this through. Case in point, for example, are you married?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have pet names for your wife?
Sure I do. Yes.
Okay. So it's all right if I meet your wife and call her that too, right?
Absolutely not.
Oh, really? Explain to me how that makes sense. Because in light of what you just said about what brothers say to each other on the internet, explain to me how that makes sense in light of that.
Because I make the distinction between a pet name as something that you would use only for that person in an affectionate way and not in a derogatory way.
Okay, but then again, it could be that's the same time you're calling her a pet name, you could also mean it in a derogatory way also. Tone, intonation, and intent. You could have a night where it's an off night if she didn't cook the pot roast right, and all of a sudden sweet cakes is not a term of endearment. It's a sarcastic thing. So yeah, 1 minute you can mean it lovingly, and this minute you might mean that sarcastically. So yeah, the same word can be used with a different tonation and distinction to it, with the exact same person.
I feel you. I just don't think that it is a strong enough argument. It doesn't meet a high degree of intellectual argument when you say that and then you turn around and tell somebody else that I'm offended by the same thing.
Okay, but it depends on who. We just determined that you said that I can't say that to her under any circumstances. You made a distinction that I cannot communicate to your wife the way that you do, either positively or negatively under any circumstances, for one reason. You're her husband and I'm not. Now, that's the only criterion you have. Jason, I'm her husband. I can talk to her positively or negatively because that's my relationship to this person. Jason, you don't have that relationship to this person. You can't use the language I use, either positively or negatively. Now, that's what you just said.
But who's to say that that is the correlation between somebody saying this particularly heinous word to a black person? That who's to say? Who's the arbiter of saying that I get to say it and you don't get to say it?
The same way that you are the arbiter of if I get to say it to your wife. Who's the arbiter of that?
She and I.
Thank you. As a group, because the other side of the equation is that she has to be accepting of that. So, as I said, your relationship to her is not my relationship to her. And a white person's relationship to us is not our relationship to our brothers and sisters, which is why there's that specific name. Not to make them as outsiders, but to make the distinction that this is our relationship to us. The same as there's a relationship between you and your wife that I cannot penetrate. Pause. But there's a relationship between you and your wife that I am not privy to. And there's nothing I can say or do that will force that into being. Even if you're saying words that I don't like personally, that still does not give me the authority, pardon the expression, or the leeway to interject myself into that and say, well, now it's a free-for-all. No, it's not. Not now, not ever.
It's a free-for-all, sir. It's a free-for-all right this moment. You got Fat Joe. You got this Hispanic Latino.
How's that working out?
I could say it because I'm black.
How's that working out?
Well, that is not working out so very well for him at this moment, but it only happened just this very moment. It only happened within the last year. It's been happening for 25 years.
Okay, well, first of all, we didn't get to have a national forum on Fat Joe until just now. How'd that work out when we started asking everybody what they think?
I feel you. That
all of a sudden it went down in flames. Well, there you go.
But what happens every single, I live in New York and I grew up in a place where if anybody said that, you'll be looked at like you're strange. And I understand what you're saying when you're saying me and my wife can say to each other pet names in private, but we do that in private. We do that amongst
You can do that in public.
Other.
You can do that in public, sir. Like, you call your, you've never called, have you ever called your wife, have you ever called your wife baby in public?
It depends on the setting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, but the bottom line is you have addressed your wife as baby in public. I guarantee that you've addressed her as baby at a restaurant, and I'll be damned if you're going to let the waiter say, and what will you have? He tells you what you want. He says, looks at your wife and says, and what do you have, baby? You don't care how he means it. And he can just, hey, I'm being polite. I think she's not. I think you got a great wife here. You don't care how he means. Hey, bruh, you don't call my wife baby. Now, what if he told you, what are you, crazy? All I said was baby. I didn't curse her. I didn't yell at her. I didn't call her a racial epithet. What are you upset for me calling her baby? What's wrong with me calling her baby? Glitch. There we go.
Or you're asking me a question. What's wrong with her calling my wife?
What is wrong with the waiter? What's the wrong?
At the same time,
it's not the insult. But it's not the insult. But it's not the insult.
If I call my wife a bitch.
No. Back to baby. But he didn't call your wife an insult. He just called her baby. What's wrong with him calling her baby? That's not an insult.
But if I call my wife the other B word.
Oh, no. We're going to stick with baby. No. We're going to stick with baby. What is wrong with another man giving your wife a compliment and calling her baby?
It wouldn't be appropriate.
Why is it not appropriate? It's not an insult. So why is it inappropriate?
It would be an insult. It would be an insult to me.
Oh,
it would be an insult to her.
Whoa, how? How?
It would be him presuming that he knows her better than.
As I just said a few moments ago, for him to say that is him imposing a level of intimacy with the two of you that he doesn't have.
Right. Yes, I agree with you. Yes.
Thank
100%.
you. And for anybody outside of our society, you are imposing a level of intimacy with us that you don't have.
But who has decided who is inside our society?
As I just told you,
saying who's outside
as
of our
I
society?
just told you, the same way that you determined who was inside you and your wife's relationship is how we determine who is inside of our cultural relationship. Same way you just did it. And it was valid for you. You're now going to say it's not valid for the whole rest of the group, but it is valid for just you? Think it over, bruh.
I have thought it over, sir. And it still doesn't make any sense to me. I think that you're an incredible intellect, but that does not make sense to me, sir.
Okay, well then in that case, do not get upset if somebody calls your wife baby, because otherwise what you're saying makes no sense. If he means well, as long as he has good intentions and means well, you shouldn't be offended.
If that person didn't speak English and was thinking, okay, that's the word that you call your wife, then perhaps,
what is his intent? Okay, but what is his intent? If he means well, then we shouldn't be offended.
I'm not going to say that I would take it to the point of having some type of confrontation, but I would certainly not be approving of that, and neither would she. She wouldn't answer to it.
Okay, well, we'll go back and re-listen to this phone call. I think you'll find it to be enlightening. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, folks, just that quickly. It just is, damn it. My wife, it just is. Okay. All right. Folks, if you want to know how to decapitate these arguments, you don't even have to reinvent the wheel. Just repeat the words I'm saying. I'm telling y'all how to destroy white supremacy and incorrect, illogical arguments across America and across society. Just repeat my words. That's all you got to do. I've already found the argument killer. Just repeat my words. That's it. No, it's really not going to be this big rough and tussle thing. It really, really isn't. When people say it just is. Okay. Well, he just told you, hey, can't nobody call my wife baby. I don't give a damn how you mean it. There's no way you can mean it that isn't offensive to me. And it's me and my wife who say that that's the rule. Well, yeah, that's the point. You see, I can't go among Asian people and use any old kind of language I want to. I can't go among Italians and use any old kind of language I want to. It don't matter how many all of us watch The Sopranos. As a black person, you can't go among Tony Soprano and the crew talking to them like they do each other. You don't get to do that. Talking about freedom of speech, you're going to have freedom to get whacked. You don't get to go among other people and dictate to them the level of intimacy that you have with them. Who decides that? Them fellas over there did. Them fellas over there at the table did. Them fellas making the spaghetti in the back, they did. That's who decided it. Who said that Matt Walsh can't say the N-word? The folks standing over here, which is why Matt is sitting in the safety and security of his studio, talking as much trash as he wants to. He get out here on the street, whole different ball game. Wait a minute now. Hey, hi there, brothers. Y'all, that's all it's going to be. If he walked the streets, it's just going to be, hi, brothers. It's going to be that right there. It's going to be that right there. Copping pleas, begging for a pass, pleading for a safe. It's going to be that. All right, let's go ahead and go back over here on Zoom. We got Leandro here on Zoom. What's on your mind, Leandro?
This situation is interesting because I just recently looked up a couple of laws in the state that I was in, and I was in a previous state. I'm in Missouri now, but and about that panel with Mark Lamont Hill, Myron kept saying, well, people have the right to use their First Amendment. If you infract, now I'm not a lawyer, let me say that. I don't even play one on TV. But when people infract on the fighting laws statute, that's not protected by the First Amendment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they call that verbal harassment, which you can be arrested for. So, right. Yeah, the idea that I can say whatever I want to whoever, however I want to, And no, not really. No.
And in certain states that don't have a fighting words law, it still falls under disturbing the peace. So you still will be breaking the law. And also the thing about the previous caller about, well, how come they can use it and how come we can use it and they can't? It's kind of like, let's say your mother gave you a nickname and it's just a family nickname. Maybe you did something embarrassing when you were a child, and then your buddy comes over to play video games and he overhears your mother call you that nickname. So he thinks it's gonna be funny and try to call you that. You correct him like, no, bro, you can't call me that. That's my mom gave me that name because, I got candy stuck in my hair when I was 5. So you can't call me sweetie head. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, look, brother, like I say, anybody who's been to Japan, anybody who's been in the Middle East, you are not Asian. I don't give a damn how many kung fu movies you saw. I don't care how much anime you watch, how much you got the big manga collection that looks like the Library of Congress. I don't give a damn. You're not Japanese. Don't go over there and try to flex like you Japanese. You're not one of them. And if you respect these people, that's the first boundary that you respect. You don't respect people by telling you got no boundaries. You respect people by respecting their boundaries. If you go in somebody else's house, somebody else's family, you talking to somebody else's wife, you're not showing respect by talking about you ain't got no boundaries. You show respect by respecting boundaries. So when you go into a situation and start talking about your right to be disrespectful, you're taking your chances. Especially when you start talking about you can be maximally disrespectful. You don't get to go to the Middle East and flex no disrespect card. Asia, Russia, you name it.
Just to keep it in the United States, you can't go to Hawaii like that. You can't go to like all the mainlanders. I lived in Hawaii for about 3 years before I moved back to the States. They got a term called haole. Now, it just means outsider, but they kind of morphed it into a derogatory term somewhere. It kind of rubs some of the white people the wrong way when they get called haole. But you can come over there, you can get all the Hawaiian shirts you want to. They don't too much like it when you get the Hawaiian tattoos and whatnot, but you still not one of them, just to keep it in the United States, not to even speak about, Japan, the Middle East. You can't even play over there in Hawaii like that.
No, dude, I mean, you can't play outside of New York, California. You can't really rep some place that you're not from. Folks will check you for that. They'll check you for that. So this is a matter of respect and respecting boundaries. This idea that if you're white, there are no boundaries. You can be as disrespectful as you want to be, and promoting that kind of idea to folks. All I can say is don't listen to idiots on the internet sit up here and get you in a bind. Don't let them sit up here and do that kind of stuff, because you might be itching at the bit to say, nigga, go to your house and go yell at all you want to. But you listen to these other folks talking about go down to the park and go talk to folks' kids like that. And one other thing, I didn't see the child's parents anywhere. So I don't know if that fellow with the camera was or not. I'm like, where are his parents at? Because this reminds me of the same old thing. Every time you find some white supremacist female pulling something like this with black children, they're by themselves. There's no mother with them and certainly no father with them. So they are looking for your children out by themselves. They're just sitting at the park playing. And here they are accusing them of something. Remember the kid with the backpack? The white woman claimed the little black kid reached in her backpack or felt her on the butt. And the camera clearly showed that wasn't the case. So they'll accuse your kids of anything. And because she obviously got racist tendencies. So they'll just accuse them of anything if they think that they're by themselves. They believe in targeting the children. So some of these folk gonna listen to these people and get themselves in a bind. I'll let you have the last word.
And furthermore, what I seen in that video, which was also disturbing on her part, is that she had her child with her. And I've noticed this, that a lot of people, they're so cowardice, they'll hide behind their children. You got a lot of troublemakers that'll run around here and they'll have their kids with them. And then as soon as stuff escalates, oh no, I got my kid with me. Why are you starting stuff and you got your kids with you? But that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, 2 things that I live by that everybody that I think is a good rule: mind your business and mind your manners. I live in one of the most dangerous cities in America. And I've never been shot, never been robbed, never. Well, I'm, I'm not gonna get into all that, but I promise you, if you mind your business and mind your manners, talking to the white folks too, mind your business, mind your manners, you'll live longer.
Where city you out of?
Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh yeah, Kansas City, right up the street, East St. Louis. So when you start getting up in that neck of the woods, folk discounted. Watch yourself. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. Yes, folks, I know that's Illinois. Yes, get a map. All right, let me go ahead and get Akeem up here on Zoom. Let me go ahead and get Akeem up here on Zoom. All right, we got Akeem on Zoom. What's on your mind, Akeem?
What's going on, Jason? This is Akeem. I'm out of St. Paul, Minnesota. It's really ironic you're doing this broadcast last week when that incident happened in Rochester. I was about 30 miles away doing some travel video work. And this week I was in Wisconsin doing some video work. Finished up the night, heading to Walmart. And I parked in the handicap because I was out in the sticks getting to the bathroom. And there's some guy out there saying something, but I was just in a rush. So I went inside. When I came out, he was still out there, and he started yelling racial slurs at me, saying a bunch of different stuff. Some lady happened to film it, and she put it on the news. It was on Channel 8, and they were talking about Wisconsin having hate crime laws to be able to produce some justice. So I was just asking you, what do you think would be some good steps to move forward with this?
I mean, well, definitely here. Like I say, in New York, we covered this after Joe Biden got elected. There were black people getting arrested for yelling insults at Asians. Right. I mean, literally being arrested for nothing more than yelling insults at Asians. No Myron Gaines, no anybody else to go on the crusade and talk about that. We were one of the only places talking about that when it happened. So, brother, the laws are already on the books, is what I'm telling you. It's not on its way to there. It's actually already there. If they want to come arrest you, they've already got a law for that. There's an app for that. Well, they got a law for that already. Well, pretty much anything you think about is really about having it used and them actually employing it. That's the only difference. But no, brother, there's already a law that will satisfy somebody verbally harassing you, yelling racial epithets at you. There's already one that'll do that already. There's already one. That's why with the previous caller we covered that. That's at the very least that's disturbing the peace. At the very least. So yeah, that's already there. The real thing is, are they enforcing it?
Exactly. So that's really what I want to hold them accountable. And it was some white lady who filmed it and came to me after. She was like, "Oh, I was scared," and I filmed it, and she ended up taking it to the news channel and put it on the internet and all that. And it happened that night, and the next day it was on the news. And it kind of reminded me of Neely Fuller Jr. He was talking about, if black people could produce justice, they would do it themselves. So having white people as allies in producing that justice and holding people accountable is really, really amazing. But when it comes to this incident, the people in this Facebook posting that she put it on, they're posting this guy, because this is a small town. I was in La Crosse, Wisconsin. That's where it's happened at. And they're posting that guy's address and his name and pictures of him. So I was going to get in the chat later on and get some information and see what I can do, because they had a lawyer on the news, and she was saying that at the minimum he could spend a year, I think it was a year in jail and like a $10,000 fine for it, because he was just going crazy. And I didn't know what was going on, because I'm just looking at him, making sure he doesn't have any people with him. He's talking about it's like a sundown town. So I'm just like, all right.
No, brother, look, I've been saying to you all here for the longest, watch yourselves, keep your heads on swivel. I've been saying that since before the election, that this will embolden a lot of white supremacists. They were already emboldened because of Barack Obama and Joe Biden, and this turns the volume up even more. So now they're taking really big risks. Because here's the thing, he didn't know what you was about. He didn't know what you had. That could have gone real bad left on him. That could have gone really bad. He's sitting up here yelling at you, and it's like, okay, you know what? I see a threat over here.
Right.
I see a threat over here. So I was scared for my life, y'all. Scared for my life. So that could have gone real bad for him. So that's taking some real crazy chances. This is how far they're going with it. Although I suspect that if that had occurred, he would have balled up in the fetal position and swore up and down that, oh, I was just standing over here talking, and the big brute just came over here and started beating me down, and I didn't do anything. And then he would have got, tried to get the bag from Give So Sing Go. He would have.
Yeah, he was in his car the whole time, and he like doubled the parking lot when I came out the second time, and I'm just sitting there, getting ready to leave. He's just doubling the parking lot. Came back, and he just started yelling, "Nigger, nigger, nigger," and then he's like, "Oh, go back to." He's like, "You're not welcome." Because at first, when he put up on me, the energy. Now I wasn't paying attention to what he was saying, but the energy. I'm from Pasadena, California, Los Angeles, so the energy made me feel like he was kind of banging on me, but he wasn't. He didn't seem like a threat visually. So I just went on to the store, but when I came out, he was still yapping. I listened to what he was saying, and the first thing that caught my ear was like, "You're not welcome here in Wisconsin." And then he said, "Go back to Chicago." I have Minnesota plates, so he's like, "Go back to Minnesota." And I'm just thinking, like, I'm really from California, but it's just crazy.
He's trying to figure out which racist thing he needs to be. It's like Minnesota, California, Illinois. I don't know what the hell it is. Go back where you came from. Go back to the moon where you came from. So, like I say, this is the era we're in. He was yelling it from his car because if you had walked up on him, he needs to make this speedy getaway. He wasn't about that life. He wasn't about that business. That's domestic terrorism because you're not bothering anybody. You should be allowed to just walk where you're going, do what you're doing here. But don't expect Matt Walsh or Tim Pool to make an issue of that either. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. Yeah, everybody out there, keep your heads up. Keep your heads open. They're looking to ambush people. They're looking for you by yourselves. They're looking for you to be by yourself. They're going to try to catch you in a vulnerable position. So everyone, you have to be vigilant. They are looking for you to be an easy target and an easy mark, and then they're going to see if they can try something. If you don't look like an easy target or easy mark, then they're going to be very discouraged from attempting that because they're like, okay, how this going to go? All right, we got Isaac here on Zoom. Isaac, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that interview for a second, the first caller, because he said that he couldn't understand the difference between the version with the A and the version with the ER. But that's really the problem. It's simple etymology. There's a difference because they're spelled differently. You see what I'm saying?
Okay,
it's like the difference between.
Not really. No, and we really don't have to go off into that part of it either because here's the issue. The issue is regardless of any sort of etymological or grammatical syntax to it, the issue is about intent and who's using it.
Right.
As a white person, you don't have any ability to use that. That's like a white person using a Nazi slogan. That using a Nazi slogan is laughable from a black person. It's not from a white one because that's not a word. That is a word with history. It means something. That's why I was saying that's like me saying that I'm your wife's husband. Whoa, back up, dude. That you don't play with that word. There are legal ramifications to identifying yourself as somebody's husband. Legal, social, emotional, religious. That's not just a word. It's a word with history and ramifications to it. So that is why any sort of variation on that is totally different depending on the intent and the person using it. So I folk get off into discussions about ER and A and stuff, and I'm just letting y'all know it doesn't really matter. That's not something that we get in that's really going to help, and it's not going to get into where y'all think it is. But it doesn't really matter. It doesn't make a distinction because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how they say it. What matters is who is saying it and what's their intent.
Right, but yeah, well, that's true. My point in saying that was I was going to get to where a lot of the times they really do say it to just provoke a reaction. That's like Piers knew 100% what he was doing, trying to provoke her to say that word. And unfortunately, Mark crashed out on him. He did. He could have taken complete and absolute control of that situation if he'd stayed calm and handled it differently. That's why I say it's about etymology because it's like you said, it's the intent behind it. You see what I'm saying? There are a lot of off-code people out here that they'll let people of the other races say the N-word and they're off code, but they might not, you know what I'm saying? They might not know, but it's a different intent. But Piers, his intent, he knew what he was doing. And Mark, Lamont Hill, Mr. Hill, unfortunately, he played into a hook, line, and sinker. When really, he could have handled that completely differently if he had just thought about it and said, wait a second, they're doing this to provoke a reaction from me. It's just a word. Let me take control of this situation. You see
Well,
what I'm saying?
I don't think anybody was trying to provoke anything from Lamont. He just kind of tied himself up into something there when he just needs to fall back, because we need moments like that. We need that. When I did my program about pearly things that made the internet melt down and blow up and everything, including on Pierce Morgan's program, it was because she was allowed to speak. Now, if there had been somebody in there with her and Nick Fuentes to stop her, it never would have happened. They need to be allowed to speak. I need you all to understand something. When they talk about things like Nazi Germany, and when Professor Lee Bollinger of Columbia University said that the Jewish Holocaust is the most documented event in history, that's a very, very essential element to have. We need to be able to document these things. Very, very important. Well, Jason, why? Why does it matter? Charlottesville is one of the recent most examples of that. Remember, they walked out there talking about you will not replace us and Jews will not replace us and down the niggers and this, that, and the other. And they had their masks off. And that was end of life for everybody, including Richard Spencer and all the rest of them who were there. They had gotten too damn bold. They had gotten too bold. And finally, they had gotten bold enough where they could be documented and people could find them and show, hey, by the way, this is who this is. And now you're famous for a whole different reason. We need to be able to do that. So Tim Pool and them think they're a little more insulated on the internet, but we need to be able to do that, every single one. And the more emboldened they are, think about it like being a prosecutor, brother. Tim Pool and Matt Walsh think they're going to protect themselves by saying, well, I didn't say the N-word. I'm just talking about a nuance of it. That ain't going to fly. But the ones who go even further and say it, we need to be able to document that. You can't walk that backwards. If you go any place, think about that for a few moments. If Shiloh Hendrix is ever the manager at a damn McDonald's, if somebody accuses her of being saying something racist to them, what is she going to defend herself with? From now till the day she dies. Tell me anybody who can hire her and they don't have unlimited liability. That's the effect of that. But you don't get it if you don't document it. And allowing these folks to do that, it's not just about that woman who's on Pierce's show either. She says that, and just like with Matt Walsh and Tim Pool, that emboldens the others. That emboldens all the others. The longer you can keep that running, the more of them it'll dig up. And that's what we really need, and that's what we're really looking for. That right there. Mark got in the way of that, so he could say, all eyes on me. Mark, the rest of us are not so booty sensitive like that. The rest of us are not like that. We need to document every one of these bastards, and Pierce was doing what he's supposed to do. Get this heifer on the record. Hell yeah, make her go viral. You damn right. That's exactly what we need. Her and all the rest of them. Get them on wax. Get them on record. Document the damn thing, and this just follows you around. Robbing us of those opportunities is the worst thing that can happen, because the pendulum's not on our side right now as solid as it needs to be, but it will be. And when it does, think about the wasted opportunities. Brother, you remember after Charlottesville, they went radio silent. Right. The white supremacists went radio silent after Charlottesville. They after that blew up in their faces, they stopped. And I'm just like, damn, for a minute we had them. For a fresh minute right there, we had them. And then they started clamming up. So no, we got to get them out here. Folks can't be sensitive. They can't be spazzing out. And by the way, for Mark, that's performative. Please, the man's got a PhD. That's performative. Negroes always trying to put on a show. And we don't need Mark putting out a show out here. You need to be soldiered up. I'll let you have the last word.
That's that's really it. I guess I had one last question as to how do you, for us in our case, we need to get people exposed, but how do we compare that or like contrast that to other groups where they don't even get to say, you don't even get to say certain bad things about other groups? Like, how do we get to that point, or why is it that we should let these people say these things so we could expose them versus just, like you said, shutting them down.
Well, I mean, because we
Whereas,
don't
like,
we don't have control. It would be different if we controlled the government had authority to do a I'm black and I say so. We don't have that.
Right.
That's the missing element. So if we had that kind of authority and those kind of levers, well, yeah, you could do that. We don't. So you got to operate where you are, not where you wish you were. So otherwise, yeah, I mean, brother, if we controlled NBC and CBN and the UFC or General Motors or whatever, well, yeah, we did that. With that kind of power, you can freeze people out of whole economies. If we controlled Chase Bank, look what they did to Kanye West. Right. Look what they did to Kanye West. So yeah, if we were in that position, we could shut a whole bunch of things down, but we're not. So we got to use the tools that are at our disposal until we get the tools that we'd like to have.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Well, like I said, I'm not going to be unrealistic about it. I mean, it'd be great if we had that kind of control of the levels of power in the economy. That's what we've been talking about all this time, is getting us in a position where we can do that kind of thing so that you don't have to worry about that in the first place. So, yeah, that'd be nice. We don't have it right now. But that doesn't mean that we're powerless either. Most important thing we can do right now is be documenting all that. This is all very, very important. The internet is forever. And the more that people are emboldened, the more they will do this. The more they do this, make sure you document it. Please remember, folks, this is the reason why you come here to the New Black Media is because we're able to sit up here and have callbacks from programs that we did years ago. Years ago. You have this repository and this library of information that we're able to call on from years ago. Many of you, the reason why you're able to refute these things and debunk these things is because you're members of our audience and you watched us have programs where it drilled into you and you're like, hey, I remember that program. It wasn't just an article that you saw on Google or Twitter somewhere. We had whole programs about it. So that's really drilled into your psyche. It was a whole experience for you. And months or years or even decades later, you can call back to that. People, we're talking about Trayvon Martin like that was just yesterday. Do you know that was 13 years ago? What? Brothers and sisters from around the world, when we say the words Trayvon Martin, for those of us who were there, do y'all know that was 13 years ago now? You talk about 9/11, that was 24 years ago. Trayvon Martin was 13 years ago. George Floyd was 5 years ago, half a decade. The white supremacists are still spazzing out about that. Time keeps slipping into the future. And I want you to understand just how long of a distance we got right there, man. And many of you, for you, it was like it's just yesterday. Yeah, because you come back here every week and we make sure it never fades. It's sitting right there fresh in your minds. We can go down the list of all of them. Tamir Rice, Eric Garner, Walter Scott, Terrence Crutcher, Freddie Gray. We can go down the list. But the reason why you can remember all that, the reason why you can remember all of that is because we kept that in front of your minds. Breonna Taylor. We keep refreshing your memory about that. We won't allow it to be forgotten. But I just wanted to remind you, that was 13 years ago. But take a look at how powerful it is to sustain people's memory. So you see, we make progress and continue to make progress because we don't allow it to fade. And that's just the power of memory. So every time we come out, we know why we're there. We know why we're here. And you think yet another white supremacist in a park yelling racial slurs at black children, that was the master stroke. Tiny Tim Pool thinks that was the master stroke. Oh, that was the kill shot. We're winning now. We reversed the 20th century. We're winning now. It's like, dude, all you're doing is documenting yourselves. Gleefully so, by the way. All you're doing is egging on all of your flunkies and clowns out there, and you're just documenting yourselves. That's all you're doing. You're just documenting yourselves, and you think that we're going to spaz out over it. Mark Lamont Hill's a damn embarrassment. We ain't spazzing over nothing. We're just sitting saying, oh, there you are. Oh, no. By all means, continue. No, say it a little bit louder. Go ahead and prove that it's safe to be white supremacist again. Say a little louder. Go ahead. The pendulum eventually swings back the other way. It always does. And when it does, remember Don Imus. Remember Don Imus and Laura Schlesinger and Paula Dean and Hulk Hogan and Dog the Bounty Hunter. Yeah, there's a long list of other folk who thought they could get away with it too, and everything would be sweet and it was a new day. Yeah, they thought the same thing too. Didn't work out for them either, now did it? Didn't work out for them either. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. I want to thank everyone who's contributed to a nice program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out here to Mr. Baker. Thank you very much for your support. To Rhonda, thank you very much for your support here as well. Najee, Leighton, and everyone else who's contributed to support a nice program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend, holidays, some days in between. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work, blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to tonight's program, live or recorded. Thank you all for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is a pendulum.